All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports, because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to The Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Starcade Media Studios with my guy, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
Episode 241 is in full swing, full motion. We're so happy to be here with you and for you to be here with us. Whether you are live streaming, whether you are podcasting, or whether you are YouTubing, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this time as we have another fun-filled, jam-packed show for you guys, as we are going to talk a lot of football today, as you guys would like to imagine. I'm sure hopefully you guys would like to imagine, because this is what we're here to do, is to talk football at this time of year. If I sound a little stuffed up, that is because I am in fact stuffed up a little bit, guys. So excuse my Weasley ways, my nasally ways. Just pretend I'm Eric Mangini on a show where I'm actually making sense. So we have a fun-filled show, like I said today, guys. We have no guests. Me and Trevor are just going to really elaborate on a few things, because we got a big game this week, guys. I don't know if you noticed this, but early in the crack of dawn, practically, in Kansas City in the United States, and I know a lot of you guys are watching from other parts of the country. Some of you might have to get a little bit up a little earlier than Trevor and I in Kansas City. Some of you might get up a little later. Lucky you. This game's going to be at 8:30 Central Standard Time, and I think that's roughly, if I'm not mistaken, around 1:30, 2 o'clock in Germany. So the Chiefs will be playing a very weird time slot, guys. We're not used to here in Kansas City, and they're facing a team that is really trying to take on the challenge of dethroning the Chiefs in the AFC side of things, the Miami Dolphins, that has a very notable name in Tyreek Hill that's very motivated to get this one as well. Trevor and I are going to give you guys our full-fledged preview and prediction of what we think is going to happen to this game, so stay tuned. Trevor and I have not talked about this at all week long as far as what we think is going to happen in this one, but I promise you we'll give you guys that. We're going to be handing out some L's, like I said. We're going to get to you guys in the Q&A and speak it to get your guys' questions, concerns, whatever you guys want to talk about. I promise you we'll get to as many of you as we possibly can. We've been having great episodes, great segments when it comes to that, and I hope you guys have been having fun, because Trevor and I have been having an absolute blast when it comes to talking with you guys, getting your thoughts, getting your perspectives on things. And if you guys have not already done it, I tell you guys at the top of the show, I'll tell you at the bottom of every show as well, go ahead and go to YouTube. If you're not watching on YouTube yet, go to YouTube, hit the Spoken Podcast, hit subscribe, the notification button, and then get in the comments. Let us know what you guys are thinking about. We appreciate everybody that's on the Facebook side of things, on Twitter. We appreciate all you guys that do that on that side. But if you guys could help us just grow a little bit more on the YouTube side of things, we'd very much appreciate that. We're growing substantially on the YouTube, on the Facebook, Twitter side of things, as always. We're trying to do the same on the YouTube side of things. So if you've not already done that, hit up Twitter or youtube.com/The Spoken Podcast, subscribe, notify, and comment, and let us know what you guys want, and testify, if you will. But Trev, we left the show, the postgame show, the Chatting of the Chiefs postgame show with Vaughn Booker, very frustrated. I think talking about it, talking through it made us feel a little bit better, but it didn't make me feel good enough to feel like that was just a one-off, or that was something that shouldn't be worried about. I've had the unfortunate pleasure of listening to local radio all week about how people are oversimplifying what we saw against the Broncos and the Chiefs losing by 15 damn points to a team that they've been dominating now for the better part of a decade. I heard a lot of people talking about how this is not a big deal. It was just one game. Guys, they quit panicking, quit freaking out. The Chiefs are 6-2. The typical platitudes they use out there to pander to get people to listen to their show. But Trevor and I have always done this thing here, and I don't speak for Trevor, I speak for myself, but we speak together in unison when we say that we made one thing obvious and clear when it came to what we do here at the Spoken Podcast, and that is we do not bullshit you. If we have an opinion, if it's a popular opinion, unpopular opinion, controversial opinion, non-controversial opinion, we're going to give it to you, because that is what you guys deserve, is to hear it from us.
Keep it a buck.
There's been a lot of dishonesty in the media this week, and today we're going to be honest about a lot of things, but I don't want you guys to prepare yourself for me bitching and complaining. I'm going to break some stuff down, and then I'm going to flip it to Trevor, and I'm going to flip it to you, because I need your guys' help today to understand what exactly this all means, because I have my theories. I've been leading this up. I've been telling you guys now for 9 months what I think it means if in fact they don't do certain things. Now we're sitting here in a position to where I need you guys to give me some solutions and how you guys think this is all going to work out. So if you guys didn't know, Chiefs lost a very embarrassing game to the Broncos this week, and then they follow up by 2 days later deciding not to do anything in the trade deadline. And I told you guys before the end of the show, chatting at the Chiefs postgame show with Trev and Vaughn, that if Brett Veach doesn't make a move, he's not serious about trying to help this team repeat as Super Bowl champions. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I think what's happened, guys, there's a lot of assumption that's gone on this offseason and doubling down on that assumption in the trade deadline. And let me go ahead and back up just a little bit. So back on April 14th, I tweeted this out. Quote, just because they won a Super Bowl with a limited wide receiver group in 2022 doesn't mean that they will do it again in 2023. Giving Patrick Mahomes more proven weapons only betters their chances. I am in no way shocked by or opposed to the Chiefs bringing back Justin Watson. There's nothing negative about adding veteran depth that understands the offense while playing a role in special teams. That's what we thought at the time. But this can't be the last veteran wide receiver Brett Veach signs this offseason, end quote. Then go up to July 16th. Quote, if there's a quarterback that could get the most out of a thin, unproven wide receiver room, it's Patrick. That's not my point. We witnessed how much was relied upon the Mahomes-Kelsey connection in 2022. Kelsey is in his mid-30s, and if he goes down, who does Patrick rely on? That's my point. Patrick and Travis are the best duo in the NFL, but we know that at any moment Kelsey could slow down or get injured. But that's just the reality of a much violent game. That's just the reality of such a violent game like football. Maybe that doesn't happen in 2023. But if it does, the Chiefs' offense isn't prepared for it. If Kadarius Toney was reliable physically, this wouldn't be as big of a concern. But we know the chances of him missing 5+ games in 2023 is likely based on the first 2 seasons. That leaves MVS, Moore, Watson, and James. Like I said, Mahomes' magic will have to be on full display. The 2022 Chiefs had one of the thinnest wide receiver rooms, and that was with Juju Smith-Schuster, the proven veteran they still haven't replaced. If you thought Patrick had to work on his magic last season, wait until you see what he's asked to do in 2023, end quote. And then all the way till October 13th, this last month, quote, this defense is too damn good to waste on an offense they can't find their way, or at best get out of their own way. Yes, the Chiefs are 5-1, but the only reason they're not 6-0 is due to Kadarius Toney, who was sold as a wide receiver 1 all offseason, tip drilling a ball into the hands of a Lions defender for a pick 6. If having a good record was the Chiefs' goal, they're doing great so far. But if repeating as Super Bowl champs is what they've set out to accomplish, Brett Veach has yet to admit that this wide receiver experiment isn't working and tended to the team's biggest and only true weakness. The Chiefs need a difference-making receiver, whether that's a wide receiver or a tight end. Veach cannot go into this trade deadline sitting on his hands. This offense needs help in a major way if winning the Super Bowl is their goal. Time's yours, end quote. Well, spoiler, guys, Brett Veach sat on his hands. Brett Veach had a golden opportunity to make right what he clearly did wrong this offseason. And he chose to double down and try and convince us, the fans, the team, and himself that they have enough in their wide receiver room, despite their wide receivers currently ranking 10th in targets, 8th in receptions, 7th in yards, 8th in touchdowns, and 1st in drops amongst all 16 AFC teams. That's not only with Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball, but Patrick Mahomes throwing them the ball in the cleanest pocket of his career. Travis Kelce also missed week 1. And they're still only top 5 amongst all AFC wide receivers in one category: drops. In fact, they're the best at that. There were several veteran wide receivers the Chiefs could have traded for. Trevor was talking about Terry McLaurin. Obviously, you guys know who I talk about all the time, DeAndre Hopkins, but I was open-minded to Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, like Trevor said, Curtis Samuel, Deontay Johnson, several names that you could put out there. None of them. I guess draft picks in 2025 are more important than bettering the Super Bowl chances in 2023. I know we do and should care about the future because Patrick Mahomes isn't anywhere near or close to being done. But now is your ultimate focus, where your ultimate focus has to be. And now is where the Chiefs have serious questions at a position of importance. The Chiefs' offense is having its greatest struggles in the Mahomes era because they've been playing with one arm tied behind their back. The lack of additions to the wide receiver room tells us only one thing, and it's that Brett Veach is okay with that arm being tied behind their back. He is okay with it all coming down to whether Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are spectacular in each game or not. He is okay to let this season fall short in order to prove that he was right about the way he built this wide receiver room. That's stubbornness, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Veach is an incredible GM that played a major role in the Chiefs' historic success in 2018. So this isn't me trying to sit here and say this man's not good. No one is above criticism in any regard. We've sat here, Trevor, on this show in particular, and have criticized the great Patrick Mahomes. We've criticized the great Andy Reid. Why can't we criticize the great Brett Veach when we know they can do better at their jobs? I do not agree with some of these decisions and indecisions, especially at wide receiver. I truly hope the team can overcome their obvious deficiencies at this position and win another title, but that's the definition of stubbornness. I do expect the Chiefs to find a way to repeat as champions. I picked them before the season. I have not wavered. They have the key ingredients: an elite head coach quarterback duo, all-time great tight end, a reliable top 5 offensive line, and a stellar defense. At the same time, I think this would be the Chiefs' toughest run because we know that the AFC has gotten significantly better than it was when the Chiefs won Super Bowl 54 4 years ago. And we know that the Chiefs' thin 2022 wide receiver room not only is thinner in 2023, but Kelce is another year older. Patrick was a one-legged magician in the Super Bowl run last season. It is. It may be the most impressive run I've ever seen. Guy out there playing with a high ankle sprain, just owning fools. That's both the best and worst thing that could have happened, though. It's the best because, well, obviously the Chiefs won another Super Bowl. But it's also the worst because I believe it got Brett Veach to adopt the mentality that he doesn't need to invest in the wide receiver room like he once did. Do you remember when the Chiefs had a 25-year-old Tyreek Hill and they still went and spent $18 million almost annually on Sammy Watkins? They didn't have to do that. They were aggressive. Yes, Brett Veach managed to rebuild the defense by trading Tyreek Hill. But as I've told you guys for months now, I'd still make that trade again today, even with the offense looking the way it does, because the 2023 Chiefs offense doesn't miss Tyreek Hill. They miss Juju Smith-Schuster. They simply miss a reliable veteran wide receiver, something Brett Veach chose not to give Mahomes this time around. Trust in Veach, Lance. That's what everybody keeps telling me, Trevor. You even bought me a shirt one time, and I've rocked it on the show a few times.
You haven't worn it in a while.
Haven't worn it in a while. There's a reason. But this is the same fans and folks, Trevor, that are telling me this, that will gripe about how Andy Reid is or isn't utilizing his wide receivers. It can't be one and not the other when Veach is the one that gave those same wide receivers to Andy. It can't work one way and not the other. It has to work in unison here. If you're going to gripe about one, you should be able to gripe about the other. But despite all of this, Trevor, I told you guys from the top, I'm not here to bitch and complain about what I've been bitching and complaining about now for the last 9 months. I'm here to accept what this is. Brett Veach screwed up this offseason. He's screwed up at the trade deadline. And if the Chiefs want to overcome his screw-ups, Mahomes and Kelce, the goat-to-goat connection, is going to have to leave the light switch on at all times from here on out. Mahomes is going to have to unfairly rely on his 34-year-old tight end to carry this offense to do just enough to give the defense enough support to win postseason games. My question to you, will it be enough? Do you believe that will be enough? Because that's what they got. And do you like the fact that this is where we now are, fully and solely relying on Travis Kelce as a legitimized receiving option for Patrick Mahomes? We are halfway through this season. We know what this team has. Trevor, you and I both admitted on the Chatting Up the Chiefs postgame show just 6 days ago that Sky Moore is a bust. Kadarius Toney can't find himself in this offense, whether it's he can't figure out the offense, he's not good enough, he's not healthy enough. We don't know what it is. The fact is he's not a productive player. MVS has one even remotely notable game this season. He's making $11 million. Justin Ross may not ever see the football field again. Justin Watson is good, but not great. He's a guy that gets you a 25 to 45-yard catch, and that's usually about it. We appreciate what he does on this team, but we know what he is.
He's still banged up.
And he's still banged up with a freaking, I don't even know how he played in that game with that elbow injury he suffered, 2 weeks previous? Yep. And then Richie James is coming back, a guy that the Chiefs couldn't even get a 7th-round pick for and a trade before the deadline. We know what this wide receiver room is. It's Rashee Rice, a rookie wide receiver who's shown glimpses of really good football, but still has a very real drop problem. He's not reliable yet. He could be. I'm betting on him. He will be. I think he's going to be a very good wide receiver in this league. He's not there yet. It's Travis Kelce and everybody else. Patrick Mahomes has one guy he can trust. That's really scary to me, Trevor. Even though Travis Kelce's still great, we know this man started off the season out the gate injured. And he's hobbled.
He's still working his way back.
He's still working his way back, yeah. So I ask the viewing audience, you guys chime in now. We'll be getting to speak it soon, I promise you. But this is no longer me trying to find solutions. I've been doing that now for as long as it takes for a baby to be conceived and born. You know what I mean? That's how long I've been sitting here making up solutions. Brett Veach doesn't like those solutions. He wants to sit pat. He wants to sit back. He wants to rely on what they got because he thinks that's just going to work every damn year. It's not. Trevor, what do you think, man? Is this enough what the Chiefs have right now, or do you have legitimate concerns like I do?
I mean, of course, there's concerns because we see it. We've seen it every week. The question is, first of all, let me start this soliloquy off by saying that this whole argument and this whole grief that we have is from a stance of privilege because we do have the best coach and the best quarterback in the league, and we do have the faith that they can't figure it out. We're sitting here 6-2. Coming off a bad loss. Every team has a bad loss every single year. So this is we're coming from a point of privilege because we expect, greatness because we've built that here in this city and this franchise. So we have high expectations. Sure. I know I think damn near any other team of any other fan base would trade places with us right now to even have this argument that we're having right now. So let me start off with that. Second, I think it's less stubbornness from Veach's standpoint. I think it's maybe a little bit of blind faith. I think it's a little bit of maybe some cognitive bias, maybe some maybe a little bit of delusion here because the proverbial arm tied behind, hand tied behind our back that you think we're moving forward with. I think maybe Veach is, if he does even admit that there is an arm tied behind our back right now, which would be hard to deny. Maybe he sees in that proverbial arm tied behind our back that there's a knife in that hand of that arm that is tied, and there's that hand is rubbing that knife against the rope that's tied it down. Eventually, he's going to cut itself loose to where we'll have both hands and we'll figure it out. And that's the blind faith I was referring to with Andy Reid and Pat to figure it out. This really comes down to each individual that wants to see this team. You obviously see this team from a more of a pessimistic view, and I think that's granted because we've. Granted, offense is down this year in the NFL all across the board. Every single team has honestly struggled to be consistent offensively, not just the Chiefs. But there is an expectation here in this city, and I understand that, and I'm with that. I think we need to be putting up more points. That should start this week, hopefully. We can't just put up good points against the Chargers and the Bears, who are two of the worst defenses in the league. And then the worst defense ranked wise. We absolutely laid an egg against last week, and that was unacceptable.
Both times, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 19 points the first game. You know what I mean? But our defense is this feels very what Veach is doing feels very. And we always come back to this when we talk about the dynastic run that we're trying to accomplish here. It feels very Patriots way. Outside of Randy Moss, there wasn't any real big moves at the wide receiver position, and Belichick was always terrible at drafting wide receivers, even though. I'm not saying that Veach is bad at drafting wide receivers, but the track record hasn't been great so far, and Rashee Rice might be that exception. He looks like it so far, but this feels very Patriot way as far as how we're building this. We're building a juggernaut defense. I think this is a defense that's top 2, maybe the best in the league when it's, not put in shitty positions constantly on the field via turnovers and muff punts and so on and so forth. But it feels eerily similar to what they did over there, and that with the run with the Patriots. Depending on your stud tight end and your all-time quarterback, to go figure it out with the defense to lean on at times. But we know what we want to do here. We want to put up points. We want to light up the scoreboard because that's what Patrick Mahomes enjoys doing. That's what Andy Reid enjoys doing. But there's just a lot of things in flux right now. There's a lot of things. And, we've seen it in the post-game pressers with Kelsey, even on his own podcast, talking about he's worried. He doesn't want it before it gets out of hand. We need to fix these things. For him to be that transparent is telling. And for Patrick Mahomes to be pretty transparent in his pressers, his immediate day stuff, being asked about the offense and him saying it'll get fixed, him saying that confidently, it gives me hope because I know who he is and the transcendent talent that he is and his ability to figure things out and find guys and get things going. But we've yet to see a situation like this with the lack of talent and the lack of trust in playmakers in the passing game for Patrick Mahomes. And the guy, Kadarius Toney, like you said, can't even get on the field. A guy that I was caping for all offseason and all season until this past couple of weeks because he's just not even playing. So that's hard to accept right now. Maybe that changes as the year goes on. Maybe he finds his way into this offense and really gets. Maybe there's things going on off the field that he's dealing with nagging injuries. Who knows? But for me, man, we have no choice. We have no choice but to. Obviously, we can be upset that he didn't make a move. I would have taken D-Hop in a heartbeat. I would have taken any of these guys in a heartbeat. A move would have been cool. I know they were trying to trade Richie James away, for a piece. I don't know what they expected to get for him in return.
They couldn't get a 7th rounder in return.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and he's still hurt. I mean, that was kind of a desperation throw away because we know he's probably going to get cut because there's not a roster spot available since McColl's back. You know what I mean? So. It was very underwhelming, as is most NFL trade deadlines, unless you're the Niners, making some good moves there. A couple other teams made some decent moves defensively. Nothing crazy. The offensive weapons don't tend to get traded very often. There was some backup quarterbacks shuffled around. Outside of that, there wasn't much, man. This is why I didn't expect the Chiefs to make a move here. As upsetting as it is, and as lack of aggressive and stubborn, as you would put it, Lance. I just look at it as blind faith and as maybe some slight delusion on Brett Veach's end to, the blind faith in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to figure this out. And look, they very well could. There is a path to where they could figure this out. Rashee Rice could become a Pro Bowl-esque receiver. That's the pace he's on right now. He's going to finish with some pretty handsome numbers.
I think he's on pace for 780 yards. I think it's 6 touchdowns. That's pretty. Yeah, that's a good.
I think there's a chance he could finish with double-digit touchdowns this year with the way his workload is increasing every single week. I think there's going to be a game or two where he has maybe a couple touchdowns in a game because I think he is that guy that is becoming that not only red zone threat, but just that guy that Pat's starting to build trust in. And I think once Watson gets back, that's another guy that's trustworthy. But and at the end of the day, I mean, in the desert in Vegas, the Chiefs are still the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. So not only does Veach trust that we'll figure it out, so does Vegas. I think Pat's still the odds-on favorite to win the MVP right now still. So there's a lot of things in the Chiefs' favor, from the outside even looking in what we have going on here right now. It sucks to be in the thick of it right now because what just happened last week, that's an unacceptable loss. Granted, it's tough to beat a team that many times and not finally lose to them. But losing to them in the fashion that we did, knowing that the weakness was to blame, the biggest weakness on this team was the reason we lost this game. We couldn't get the ball moving through the air consistently, and we were once again blanked in the red zone damn near. Every single time we're in the red zone, we find ways to get too cute and just not even put the ball into the end zone, throwing into the end zone. We dance around the line. That's very frustrating, man, with the talent that we have at quarterback and the talent we have at head coach and play caller. Matt Nagy is a guy I still very much believe in as a play caller. So I'm optimistic that we can figure it out. I think there's a path to do so. But, dude, I have no idea how that's going to happen, and I'm not paid to figure that out, right? So all I can hope, man, is that Kadarius Toney finds a way, because I have no faith and trust in Sky Moore. I mean, how can you? I mean, he dropped a massive touchdown opportunity. We could talk about his arm being pulled. It slightly was pulled. It was still very much a catchable ball and a great throw by Pat, who was struggling all day and finally maybe threw the best ball of the day, and it was dropped. And we continue to lead the league in drops, and it's very, 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 very frustrating as a Chiefs fan to see that when we've been such a juggernaut through the air as a team, up until this point. So this is a stumbling block. We're dealing with a stumbling block right now, but we are sitting here 6-2. Still very confident that we win the AFC, but we got a tough schedule ahead. That starts this week, going against a team that we got to pay some points. But at the end of the day, man, I have no other option other than to move forward and trust in what I've seen over the years for them to figure it out. This is a new challenge with new faces, and yeah, man. I mean, here we are. But for me, man, I'm kind of a serial optimist, like I've talked about on the show. When it comes to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I expect them to figure it out. I think that's what they're paid to do. And if they don't, it's going to be a lost season, unfortunately, because I think the linchpin of this team's success, granted, as good as our defense has been, we don't typically win games defensively. And, at the end of the day, in the way the NFL is set up nowadays, you got to put up points to win games. It took 35-plus points to win the Super Bowl last year, and that was against a great defense. So if we go up against another great defense, and if say we make the Super Bowl, we're going to go put up some points against these defenses, man. So all I can do is put on my rose-colored glasses and just hope that we figure it out. That's where I'm at right now.
Well, and I want to do something that we haven't done since we started doing the Speak It segment, is I want to take kind of like if we had like callers. In this first segment, before we get to the Chiefs-Dolphins preview, I want to just expand just a little bit more before we get to our Chiefs-Dolphins preview and then Speak It. If you have a direct question, a direct take about this moving forward, because Trevor and I both just gave you guys our layout as to how we think this is going to go, or what we think is it enough between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce to lead this team to another Super Bowl victory with literally nothing outside of a few good plays here and there from a rookie wide receiver? Is it going to be enough to help this defense get to a third Super Bowl win in the Mahomes era? I want to get your guys' take on that real quick. So fill the comments now with that. Trevor will read them. Trevor will put them on the screen. But I want to react to Trevor while you guys do that. I want to react to a couple things Trevor said, because I think a lot of things that Trevor said, him and I are 100% in agreement on. I think the language of where we differ is the only thing that really differs us when it comes to what Brett Veach did or how he did it or why he did it. Because I say it's stubbornness. I think it's him, just putting his feet into the ground, saying, no, I want to prove that I was right about this wide receiver room and how I built it. Trevor thinks it's more of the blind faith delusion. That could very well be the case. Either way, it's wrong. That's the point I had to make here, because I tweeted this out, and a lot of people actually started to see where I was coming from and why I'm worried moving forward, and not just this season, but moving forward when it comes to how Brett Veach builds these rosters, because I know you have to every GM has to choose where to be cheap. Trevor, people, the Chiefs have the third cheapest defense in the NFL. They're paying one guy real money, and they didn't even want to pay him. Chris Jones. So what am I missing here? You have to play it cheap. I get it, especially when you're paying a quarterback $50 million a year. But when you have a roster that's not only young and the majority of them are on rookie deals, where is your money going? The Chiefs had, according to SpotTrack, enough money to take on pretty much any veteran receiver that was out there that was rumored to be traded, based on base salary. Guys, DeAndre Hopkins had a base salary of $1.1 million coming into the season. The Titans paid his $10 million bonus, signing bonus. The Chiefs wouldn't have had to pay any of that. The Chiefs would have paid DeAndre Hopkins to trade for him $680,000. That's about what they paid Mecole Hardman. These things explain themselves, guys. This was the Chiefs choosing not to do this. And I said about the thing I tweeted out that made people start to realize why I'm worried is that, guys, it's not hard, because we talk about the Patriots dynasty, and that's what we, visualize this Chiefs dynasty becoming. You know what else it could also become? The Green Bay Packers of the last 30 years. They had not one but two of the 10 greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. They won 2 Super Bowls. The Chiefs are in The Chiefs have 2 Super Bowls now in the Mahomes era, and we're expecting more of them. But if Brett Veach is using blind faith and delusion or stubbornness, like I'm saying, either way you look at it, it's not helping this team. And again, this is while I'm also admitting the fact this man has helped this team win more Super Bowls. He's legitimately helped build this roster in more ways than one. The guy has killed it on some of these free agent signings and trades and draft picks. I will give that man credit every single time I can. But I have to keep it 100 at all times, guys. That's what we do here. Like I said, we will not bullshit you. And I vehemently disagree whether it was blind faith and delusion or stubbornness with how Brett Veach handled this situation, because it's been clear and obvious outside of 2 games all season long that this wide receiver room was not good enough. And how coincidental was it that those only 2 games were against the 2 worst pass defenses in the league, like Trevor early alluded to? You're not facing the Chargers and Bears in the playoffs. You've got to. 5 of the Chiefs' 8 games this season, they have scored 23 or less. 23 or less. When have you ever heard that in a Patrick Mahomes team? Not even in 2021 when they started off the season 3-4 were they scoring that little. They were scoring a fuck ton of points. They were losing because they had bad defense and turnovers. This season, it's because of one position group. You can't tell me I'm wrong when I say this. The difference between the Chiefs being 8-0 and 6-2 is the wide receiver room. Sky Moore catches that pass. MVS doesn't fumble. Rashee Rice doesn't drop that ball in the middle of the field that he would house.
Kadarius doesn't tip drill.
Kadarius doesn't trip drill in week 1. Those are 2 wins. And again, it's not even that they lost to the Broncos. That's the frustrating part, even though that was very much frustrating because they had no business losing to that team. It's the way they did. The turnovers. And yes, Patrick had 2 really bad passes. But guys, the first interception he threw, who was he forcing the ball to? Travis Kelce. Because he doesn't trust anybody else. Because guys aren't getting open enough, and when they are, they're breaking their routes, and he doesn't know where the hell they're going. MVS, a 6-year veteran, doesn't know how to run a comeback route. He ran flat.
Yeah,
and Patrick's like, run back. This dude's 29 years old.
Yeah.
$11 million to a guy that doesn't know to do a comeback route. Are you kidding me? If that was Rashee Rice, I'm not even looking at it twice. I'm like, oh, yeah, you know what? That kid's going to learn. He's going to get it. I'll let that one pass. And so would Patrick. He still jumped his ass, but it moved right on. But you don't think for a second Patrick's like, this dude literally just fumbled the ball, and he doesn't know to do a comeback route? Are you freaking kidding me? And you guys are getting mad at Patrick for not trusting these guys? Sky Moore, Trevor just said it himself. Patrick could not have handed the ball better to him in the end zone. That ball hit him on his palms on Sunday. It was Palm Sunday, motherfucker. And he dropped that shit. And you wonder why Patrick isn't trusting these guys? He's got one dude. One dude. And that man is Trevor and I's age. Sometimes it's hard for me to get up out of bed, let alone getting hit 70 times in a game and then having to get up the next day. I don't got to get hit 70 times a day. That's a lot you're asking. That's a lot you're putting on these 2 men. And this is exactly what I feared coming into this season. Because I believe Travis is going to be fine. I think he's going to be healthy. I think he's going to get through the season. He's going to have an all-pro year. He's going to continue to do what he does. But do you guys not understand how risky that is? You saw what this offense was in week 1 without without Travis Kelce. Patrick literally had nobody. Rashee Rice had a nice touchdown in the end zone. Noah Gray and Blake Bell played their roles. Where was the wide receivers outside of that?
And on top of that, we continue to go away from the running game when things get tight.
Yeah.
That was the most puzzling thing to me overall. I mean, I didn't expect the receivers to all of a sudden blossom against the Broncos, but I mean, utilizing this running game, between the 20s, and then when we get to the red zone, we go away completely from the running game with this offensive line that's supposed to be a juggernaut offensive line, which has been a very good offensive line. It's just confusing all around, man, with the lack of talent, obviously, at receiver, but then the play calling has been very suspect this year when it comes to situational football. And that's, to me, the lack of talent at receiver was an obvious thing. I didn't expect the play calling to be this rough so far this year, honestly. Especially the way Pacheco's been playing. I mean, why are we not feeding him? He should have 6 touchdowns this year already. in my mind. I think he should have at least 6 or 7 touchdowns because we've been in the red zone so much. We continue to go away from him in the red zone. It's very puzzling to me when we have these dogs up front and that can protect Pat all day and give him a great time to throw the ball. Those guys, if anything, offensive linemen love to do, they love to run block. That's what these guys love to do. They love to get dirty, get in the trenches, and bulldoze guys and let their running backs follow behind them and get into the end zone. That's a very rewarding feeling for them, for these guys. So I don't understand. I want to see more running in the red zone. If the wide receivers are going to struggle this year, let's be more of a run-heavy offense then. Throw when we need to throw. I know that's not going to happen, but at least be more run-heavy in the red zone. That's what I'm calling for, honestly. If we're gonna struggle so much and there's going to be turnovers in the red zone because Pat can't, one, find these guys open because they're not getting open, and the trust is in there outside, and if Kelsey's being double, triple covered in the red zone, give the ball to Pacheco. Give the ball to McKinnon. Let these guys figure it out, man. Like, I know we're having our struggles putting up points, but if one thing's not working, man, try to pivot and do something else. I need to see some more of that, honestly.
Let's get to some of these comments, Trevor. If they have anybody in here that answered the question directly of is it going to be enough? Because that's my theme of the day here. I need to know if you, the viewing audience, believe that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to be enough to get this team a third title. Is there anybody in there that's come at that yet, Trevor?
So let's see. I'm just going to start here with Brian Parrott, his comment here. It says, counting on Patrick Mahomes to continually quote unquote, make up the difference at other positions has its limits. Veach's arrogance has found that line. That's kind of in line with what we're saying here already. Let's see.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But real quick, just to respond to that, because when I said that it was the best and worst thing that could have happened last year by the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, obviously winning a Super Bowl is always a great thing. So that's obviously the good part of the worst part about it is, like I said, it made Veach realize, or it made him think, oh, well, this is how it can go every year. And if you remember the previous Super Bowl they were in, Trevor, what happened? Patrick Mahomes got humiliated because why? His offensive line was inept. What did Brett Veach do the next month?
Yeah.
He went out there, traded for Orlando Brown, got Joe Thuney.
That is what's frustrating at this point because Veach has been nothing but aggressive since he's been the GM, via the draft or via free agency or whatever. People we are always like, even remember Deebo Samuel was possibly wanting out of San Fran. Like, oh, dude. And he even mentioned him in one of those pressers. Remember?
Yeah.
And we all got our balls started tingling.
And did it not feel like there's a legitimate chance that Brett Veach would do it? Like, yeah, I didn't naturally think he was going to do it. I'm like, dude,
a possibility. Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if I woke up on a Thursday and found out the Chiefs just traded a second and a fifth for Deebo Samuel.
We got Kadarius, and that's our Deebo. You know what I mean? So.
Stop. So you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm saying, Trevor, is that I don't like the reactionary ways of Brett Veach when it's only on the flip side, where it's like, well, we got humiliated by the Buccaneers, so let's go and rebuild our offensive line, which was the best thing they could have done. It changed everything, right? Veach killed it. I remember telling Shaggy, I remember telling several other people, I think that this will be the Mahomes version of the 2003 offensive line. Remember when they just had Hall of Famer and All-Pro across that board? That's pretty much what he's done for that offensive line since. You have three of the best interior offensive linemen in the league since then, and two quantifiable, decent tackles on the ends. You can't really ask for much more outside of the Eagles. Yeah. And so I love what Brett Veach did in that moment, but what I don't understand is because it worked with the wide receivers being so thin last year, he decides, let's just double down on that. Like, why would you want to make it? This is what I kept asking in the offseason. I know you remember this, Trevor. I'm like, why would you want to make it more difficult on Patrick? Why wouldn't you want to go and get him more weapons? I know they drafted Rashee Rice in the second round, but you can't honestly expect the 11th picked wide receiver in that draft to become something special immediately. If it was Zay Flowers, sure, because he was a first-round pick. The definition of what you are changes. That's why Eric Fisher was so criticized, because he was a first overall pick. To many, he didn't live up to that height as being a Hall of Fame left tackle, because if you're a left tackle taken the first overall, you should be Willie Roaf.
Yeah, day one starter.
Yeah, exactly. You should be Willie Roaf. But Brandon Albert started at left tackle that year, and Eric Fisher started at right tackle. See what I'm saying? Like, that's why there was so much tension. Why do you think there's so much tension with Chiefs fans and McCole Hardman? Because he was the pick that was supposed to replace Tyreek Hill, and he came nowhere near that, so people thought he was a bust. Why do so many people hate Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Because he was a first-round pick. And that was after his Super Bowl win. So my point is the way Veach handles things sometimes doesn't make sense to me. You handle a problem because it was a legitimate problem that cost you. Are you going to wait until this other problem costs you? Because I would imagine, Trevor, if the Chiefs lose in the divisional round or the AFC Championship because they can't get shit out of their wide receiver room, I would imagine that Brett Veach is going to be pretty aggressive at wide receiver this upcoming offseason. But what if they don't? What if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Are you going to sit pat again and say this is good enough? Because although Patrick is still great at creating shit, man,
Let Sky Moore be that third-year breakout.
Shit, there's gonna come a day, bro, when Patrick Mahomes is gonna become a premier pocket or a primarily pocket passing quarterback. Yeah. He's not gonna be out there at 35, 36 years old, wheeling and dealing and shit. That ain't gonna happen. It's gonna come a point where his physicality starts to drop, and his IQ is gonna have to take over. It's gonna have to become that where he transitions. You got to set him up for that, man, because if you want to win as many Super Bowls, we only get so many chances at this. And that's the problem I have, is I feel like you said, maybe it is delusion, maybe it is blind faith, or maybe it is just fucking stubbornness, and he's driving me crazy either way, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Our guy John Harrison has something to say here.
Yep.
I think Rice will develop into the Juju role. I agree with that, actually. I don't think he has a choice, if I'm being honest. I think Rice will develop into the Juju role. 30 catches and 39 targets. MVS has 12 and 21 targets. Moore has 14 catches on 27 targets, yet they are getting the most snaps. Rice needs to start. In my opinion, the starters need to be Rice, MVS, or Watson for the deep threat, and Kelsey and Gray, 2 tight ends, and run the ball a little bit more, and get up the middle behind Smith and Humphrey, not just running sideways. Man,
that's a great solution.
I mean, you're pulling those words right out of my brain, man. Yeah. Like, that's John, you're right there on the money with me, man. Like, that's exactly what I was just saying, especially in the red zone. In the red zone, we get too cute. We run this lateral offense, and everyone knows what we're doing. I'm fine with pre-snap motions, obviously, to try to get a read on what the defense is doing, if they're going to blitz or they're going to bring a corner or a safety on a blitz, or if they're bluffing or whatever. You want to figure out what the defense is bringing at you when things get tight. I obviously understand that. Keep doing that. That's what good offenses do. But the play calling has got to get better too, on top of everything else, man. It's not just the wide receivers. That's a massive eyesore right now. But the play calling has got to get better when we need to score points. Sometimes playing simple football works, especially when you got a good defense. You don't got to get too cute. Why do we got to get too creative and take extra non-needed risk?
Right.
You know what I mean? Why are we trying to get Kadarius Toney on end rounds and jet sweeps and bring in McCole for jet sweeps already? Like, it's like, dude, just run the ball down someone's throat.
Especially when you saw these types of dumbass plays cost you in the AFC Championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That dumbass Tyreek Hill screen pass, arrow screen pass.
Well, granted, that was a terrible
the Chiefs
throw.
Touchdown.
That was a terrible
Well, I'm
throw
saying,
by
though,
Pat.
that was a call. They called that.
Yeah.
That play wasn't going to work.
He was gonna
and
get-
the point I'm making is that since then, you should say, okay, let's go ahead and scrap that shit. And like I told you that one time, I think I said...
Especially when we don't have a Tyreek.
Yes,
We could have possibly made that work.
For God's sakes. And like I told you that one time, Trevor, about how, you got a girl over, you're trying to impress her. You can go with the new, Skrillex song that's insane, that's just driving them like, what the fuck is this? An experience? This guy's unlike anything I've ever met before.
Here, take this pill.
Or what you could do is open up a nice old bottle of Pinot Noir and throw on some fucking Al Green and go with the classics. Those work still. Al Green hasn't made music in like 40 years, Trevor. His music still rocks. And it still gets the ladies going, bro.
You still know what it's for. You
still know what it's for.
When it comes on, you know what's going on.
That HB Power, that you know what I mean? That you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
those plays fucking work still, man.
Some Power O, baby.
You still see it being played in the NFL in 2023. Go with the classics, baby. Uncork that bitch, put on some green, and make that shit happen and get their reservations for
some
6.
Pistol formation every once in a while.
You know what I'm saying?
Instead of shotgun.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
power that shit.
Get that shit dirty, man. Pacheco is I think he's the third in the NFL in broken tackles. Use this damn man. You're only we know the Chiefs aren't gonna resign the dude. They got him for 4 years. They're gonna run him into the freaking ground. He's a 7th round pick. I hope that's not how it goes. I want to see this kid make some money for himself. I would love to see that happen. But more likely, it ain't going to happen in Kansas City. Yeah. Use this kid. Let him build a legacy and help win you games. Get out of your own way. Because to your point, Trevor, what I was saying, what you were saying, blind faith, delusion, stubbornness. That is the same thing with Andy Reid. You're 100% correct. Everyone's like
we've seen it before.
People are crucifying Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Just like they used to crucify EB. It's like,
the
guys,
play calling is the same from last year. It's the same.
Everyone's like comparing, how's this offense with Matt Nagy supposed to AB? Guys,
We're just not
it's
executing.
the same offense.
We're just not executing because we don't have the bodies to execute the plays properly. We don't have guys that are out there executing the routes properly and getting open.
This is why I said that the Chiefs are missing Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's.
And on top of that, man, like the defenses have been improved this year all the way around. The scoring is down, and these teams have seen our play calling for a couple of years now in a row with Patrick Mahomes and a lot of these red zone trickery that we try to do. Teams are smart. Coaches are smart across the league. They're going to figure out ways to stop it. You know what I mean? So they watch this stuff over and over again, and we're doing the same thing over and over again, playing lateral offense. Teams are going to catch on to it. Trish, just to throw her comment out here.
Hey, Trish.
Trish on YouTube. Do you see the Chiefs implementing the running game more, and will they elevate a running back from the practice squad for the Dolphins game? I think she's referring to 𝚂𝙿𝙸𝙀 being out this week. He didn't even travel with the team, so I didn't hear anything about them taking another running back. So I think we just have two. I think it's just Pacheco and McKinnon.
Yeah.
I don't think we elevated anybody else, which I would have liked to.
Yeah, Dinner Prince maybe, or what's called P. Ryan.
But I think what that means is we're going to see some jet
Ryan.
sweeps to McCole and some jet sweeps probably to Tony. Yeah, man. Trish, I'm right there with you. As we just discussed and touched on, I think the running game does need to be implemented minimal. I think between the 20s, we've been running the ball fairly well. Pacheco's been good this year between the 20s, but when things get tight, man, like we just go away from it, and that's the most puzzling thing to me.
Trish, everybody else, let me ask you guys a question. When has this offense looked at its best this season?
When we're running the ball and playing balanced offense, especially with the good defense.
Do you guys remember the first scoring drive against the Jets early in that game? What did the Chiefs do 6 times on that drive? They ran the damn ball. And that is against one of the 5, 6, 7 best defenses in this entire league. And they see, this is the thing. The Chiefs move the ball with the best of them. Everybody keeps talking about, well, Lance, the Chiefs' offense is 4th in the league right now.
Yeah, I hate that take.
Guys, are we looking at scoring or are we looking at yards?
Yep.
Because, yes, the Chiefs move the ball with the best of them, 100%. But the Chiefs are 17th in red zone percentage. Yep. That's below average. And it's even worse when you have a quarterback as great as you do, because a lot of the teams that are ahead of the Chiefs right now don't have a quarterback half as good as Patrick Mahomes.
The teams that have scored more than us haven't been in the red zone as much as us. That's a problem. That means we should be the number 1 offense easily, because as many times as we've been in the red zone, we continue to fail. And if we converted 30% more of those red zone trips, we would easily be the number 1 offense in the league because we're scoring touchdowns. We've lived in the red zone.
This is why I called out Pete Sweeney.
Yeah.
Nothing personal. I don't know Pete as a guy. I'm sure he's a decent dude or whatever.
It feels intellectually
dishonest. I called out his horrific take when he was insulting the intelligence of us Chiefs fans that what we're watching is not true. When he's saying, well, if they would have just scored that touchdown, it would have been 44 points. Like that, it didn't happen.
Yeah, that's every week, man.
It didn't happen.
Yeah,
that's the point we're trying to make here. Yeah. And if the Chiefs didn't have a wide receiver problem, why did they literally just trade back for McCole Hardman when they gave up on him just this offseason?
Yeah.
They literally let the man walk. Why did they bring him back? Why were they in rumors for other wide receivers this offseason? Because they knew they needed more. So don't sit here and tell me, Mr. Blog Guy, that this is how it's not really a problem. It is a real problem because both losses are in direct correlation of that room. They didn't lose a single game this year because they gave up 48 points. If the defense would have sucked ass against the Lions, I wouldn't be sitting here crushing Kadarius Toney. I'd be sitting here going, man, Spags really wasn't ready for week 1.
Yep.
That's what we'd be talking about. If they went in Denver and Russell Wilson had more than 114 yards of passing and the defense didn't sack him 5 freaking times.
And the defense wasn't on the field 90% of the game?
Their 3 scoring drives, Trevor, was 50, 30, 34, and 9 yards.
Yep.
9 yards is where they went.
A lot of those were coming off of turnovers.
Offensive blunders.
And we didn't.
Muff
And
punts.
the turnovers that we forced, we didn't capitalize because once again we could not score.
Exactly.
Yeah,
See, if these 2 losses, guys, had any other context to them as to why the result was what it was, we'd be talking about said context. But it's one specific room. And that is what I fear going into the postseason. You're seeing the Bengals starting to get hot. You're seeing the 49ers, a team that the Chiefs could very well be playing in the Super Bowl, just go out there and trade for Chase freaking Young when they already have Nick Bosa. They already have Armstead. They already have Randy Gregory, who they just traded for a couple of weeks ago. These teams aren't settling. They're not sitting back and saying, oh, we got enough. Sure, they could, and it could work out. Or you go out there and you up your damn chances.
Granted, at the same time, people can use the argument, but they don't have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid also. So there is a give and take in that kind of.
Okay, so then why did the Chiefs go and get Melvin Ingram? Why did they go get Terrell Suggs? Why did you know what I mean? Like,
well, that was before we had the defense we have now. But yeah,
right,
for sure. But I mean, I agree. I think a lot of these teams that are making those aggressive moves are overcompensated because of the lack of talent, and no shade on Brock Purdy, but I think he's starting to kind of be exposed a little bit over this. So I think they maybe felt the need, like, we need to absolutely stockpile the other side of the ball here and get after the quarterback as much as possible and bring in a guy that had played with Nick Bosa before in college. And Chase Young it's a no-brainer move for them, especially with the fire sale that was going on in Washington.
Right.
They were trying to trade off him and Sweat both as quickly as possible before the deadline. So them swooping in and make that move made a lot of sense. But it is frustrating. I think our guy Brian Parrott even alluded to here, or Ruben DeCruz on YouTube here as well alluded to, like, they could trade for, they can go get that team that already stockpiled on defense already, as talented as the Niners are, could go get another elite edge rusher and Chase Young, but we can't go get any receiver. Right. That is very frustrating, man. Like, it is. That shows you which teams are being aggressive, which teams are not, and which teams are kind of resting in their laurels. But again, like I said, I started with my point off of, this is coming from privilege. As much as we hate how this feels right now, we are a team that just won a Super Bowl. We are a team that is expected to win the Super Bowl again. We are the odds-on favorite again, even with these issues that we're dealing with. But these issues are issues at the end of the day, and they need to be discussed, and they need to be fixed. And I guess, the leadership of this organization and this team feel that it can be fixed internally. We do have a comment from our guy Shaggy.
Yep.
He says, in my opinion, I believe Veach didn't pull a trade for a wide receiver because of not only trading for Hardman the week prior, but because of Tony playing at an underwhelming level after trading for him last year. Agree?
Yes. I think it's exactly what 100% what I'm saying. I don't think it's so much the McColl part.
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs could have absolutely still made a trade because they're not paying him anything, and they basically swapped 7th-round picks for him. It's essentially what they did.
Yeah, we were bargain shopping. Yeah.
Did I not say this, Trevor? I said that a couple weeks ago. I said that Kadarius Toney, what they're trying to do is make sense of these picks. Remember when I said that the reason why they're not playing Justin Ross as much is because they've invested so much and Sky Moore and MVS and Kadarius Toney that they have to make these guys work. Because, again, they're paying MVS an exorbitant amount of money he clearly doesn't deserve. They go and get Sky Moore in the 2nd round. I think they traded up for him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Then they go and give up a 3rd and a 6th for Kadarius Toney. So, yes, 100% agree. This has been my point all along. Instead of seeing the they were wrong about something, and this is what's so confusing, is that they showed that, hey, you know what? McColl is still a guy we could use on this team. Let's go get him back. That showed humility. That showed me that they knew they messed up on something. They can use him in special teams. I understand he messed up. That's not going to happen again this season, guys. I can promise you. McColl Hardman is incredible at special teams. What I'm saying, though, is it's confusing that they did that, but then when you see that Patrick Mahomes flew or not, I don't remember that when Patrick let go of the ball, the flu carried the ball into the hands of the receivers. The flu stayed with Patrick, and he was still out there putting the ball where the ball needed to be. So I don't want to hear there was a flu game as to why this offense looked the way it did. Because if we're going to sit here and really be foolish enough to say this offense only looked bad in this game, then you haven't been watching football.
It was a factor, but it wasn't a big enough factor to cause drops and cause guys not running proper routes.
Patrick wasn't good in this game, but he was good enough for them to win. He put the ball on the money where it needed to be when it needed to be. He put the ball on the money plenty of times. It just, like I said, when you can't trust certain guys to make certain catches, it makes the offense that much more tense. It looks like everything is so hard and difficult. The only time it doesn't is when Travis Kelce's getting the ball at a high volume. When he's getting the ball at a high volume, this offense just flows.
Yeah,
but that's so unfair.
But at the same time, teams, I think teams are starting to get to a point when they play us that they have no problem with Travis Kelce eating between the 20s.
Right.
Because they know that when things get tight and we get within the 10, we're going to fuck it up. Because we've done nothing but do that all year long.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So why would they not let Travis Kelce rack up 10, 13 catches for 190 yards when we were putting up 14, 17 points? Cool. Yep. You know what I mean? Because they know we're not going to go down there and finish the drive. So that's the most frustrating part for this Chiefs offense right now. We have no problem racking up the yards. We just refuse to play efficient football when things get tight. So Shaggy followed that up with, do you agree that Veach didn't want to look desperate? let me say this. I mean, if our GM is not wanting to look desperate in order to win Super Bowls and repeat as Super Bowl champions for to save face as not looking like a desperate GM, that's not what I want at the head of who's calling the shots.
No,
because desperate is that's for everyone else to decide how that looks. If other people want to say that, he looks desperate, so what? If we go out and win the Super Bowl, who gives a shit?
Right.
You think the Niners look desperate going out there and getting Chase Young when they already have an absolutely stockpiled defensive line? Yeah. That's not desperate. That's smart because they know what the goal is at the end of the day. So if you want to risk looking a little desperate to go win another Super Bowl back to back, I have no problem with you looking a little desperate, my guy.
I couldn't agree more.
So I mean, I really don't think that's what Veach is doing. I think it's more about him just trusting in his, obviously possibly being stubborn or just having blind faith for these guys to figure it out. But the challenge is the challenge, and we're failing that challenge right now. So let me see what other comments we got here as far as questions. Let's see. Brian Parrott. I think McCall was a cheap opportunity Band-Aid to get the fans off his back. He's not the answer, quote unquote.
Yeah, and that's what I said all along. I think McCall doesn't move the needle in a direction of, okay, the offense is fixed.
Yeah.
But he's a guy that brings juice. And you saw that as soon as the first week he was back.
And trust.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. He immediately did that. He was immediately impact on the trust factor with that, was it 3rd and 6 that they converted that 3rd and 6, down the stretch and had a good punt and flipped the field on that punt return. Obviously, He had a blunder this past week, but like you said, he's a very trustworthy guy, and that was just kind of a day where just issues were stockpiling, and then the vibe was just completely off for our team in every way, basically outside of the defense against Denver. Let's see. John Harrison, Trey Smith looks like he was born to run block. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand. When things get tight, just play simple football, man. Sometimes, if you have a great offensive line, it doesn't always matter what the defenses do. Right. I mean, look at what the Titans have done over the years with Derrick Henry. I know we don't have Derrick Henry running the ball, but I mean, running the ball in the red zone is maybe the most efficient choice you can possibly do. When it's 3rd and goal, 3rd and goal, running the ball consistently back-to-back times is your best bet of scoring a touchdown.
Yep.
It just is.
Yep.
I know you don't want to take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. But if we're struggling this bad and we're having issues at the wide receiver position, guys getting open, and there being communication issues, and guys aren't knowing how to run the proper routes, run the ball.
Right.
Find some rhythm. Get things on. Fix that shit in practice before we start doing it in live bullets, live action. Run the ball. You have a guy in Pacheco that has a not quit factor to him. Just keep giving him the ball. Then we got to score points. We got to win games one way or another, man. And if we're gonna live and die by the sword of just throwing the ball into the dropsy hands of these receivers right now, it's not going to work. Right. So, Brian Parrott, I seriously can't see Rice taking on Cisco over the middle. Highly unlikely. That was supposed to be Sky Moore. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, Cisco that's the dude from the
Jaguars,
isn't
it?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's some of the Juju situation when Juju got he got popped in the game against them, and was it week 7? I think it was last season.
Yeah.
I don't want to go too far into the weeds of speaking. I wanted to just kind of get your guys' ideas of what you think about that solution, or what the Chiefs are now on offense. We now know for sure what they are, whether we think it's enough or not. But here's the thing, guys: whether the Chiefs are enough, or they have enough and not on offense, they're gonna have to find that out in a matter of about 24 hours. Because the Chiefs and the Dolphins are going to be playing over in Frankfurt, Germany. I kept saying Berlin all damn week, and I was 100% off. It's Frankfurt, Germany. Chiefs are going to be taking on the Dolphins. As it currently stands right now, the Chiefs, I think, are 1.5-point favorites. They started off, I think 2.5, went down to 1.5. Patrick Mahomes seems to be completely healthy. The over-under is 50.5, so people they're expecting to have some points in this game. Look, Trevor and I had Kylie Winfrey on the show a couple weeks ago from Kingdom Cast, and we asked her the question as to who she thinks is the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC. She said the Bengals, and that makes a lot of sense because for the last 2 years it has been the Bengals.
They're coming alive too, man.
And they look really good. They just clapped the 49ers Chiefs in cheeks in Levi Stadium. Joe Burrow looks incredible.
Yep.
Their offense is clicking. They look good.
Higgins is getting healthier.
This Bills matchup is going to decide which of those teams make the playoffs, because I truly believe, Trevor, I picked the Bills to miss the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever loses that game is going to miss the playoffs, Because if you look at the rest of their roads, basically what has to happen. I was watching First Things First yesterday, and Nick Wright broke it down. Whoever loses that game is going to have to basically play perfect football for the rest of the season. They'll have to win like 8 of their next 9 games.
And both teams' schedules are tough down the way.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They'll have to go 8 of 9 basically to have a shot because the AFC is going to be so loaded, a 10-win team may not make it.
We got to play both of them.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
This is the stuff we're talking about. So this could be a game, like I said, where it means a lot to the Chiefs. What I will say, though, because everybody keeps talking about how this game's going to mean a lot to Tyreek Hill, and we know we've heard him he's been talking this week. He's been talking for damn near the last 16 months.
Talking a lot.
What I will say, though, is that I think that the Chiefs are getting a little disrespected here because everyone keeps talking about how much this game's going to matter to Tyreek. What about the Chiefs? Because Trevor and I just spent the last hour breaking down about how the Chiefs just lost their most frustrating game, in my opinion, in the Mahomes era. I know they lost to the Titans 27-3 a couple of years ago. Guys, the Titans are not a divisional foe that they've owned for 16 straight games against a team that had no business beating the Chiefs. That Titans team was actually pretty good. They went to they had the number 1 record in the AFC that year.
Yeah.
Okay? So we can give them their respect. That was a very frustrating loss. I remember that game. That game sucked.
Yep. Pat was bad.
This game is worse. Yeah. And I'm not really going to sit here and debate about it, guys. It was embarrassing as fuck to see the Chiefs lose like they did to the Broncos. But we're not going to rehash that. The point I'm making is this game to me matters just as much, if not more, to the Chiefs because the Chiefs, while still in sole possession of the AFC 1 seed, have a lot to play for, like Trevor just talked about. If the Chiefs drop this game to the Dolphins, they go to 6-3. Dolphins go 7-2. Ravens have a very winnable game this week. They both can go to 7-2. The Chiefs are dropped to the 3rd seed, and then would have to take on the Philadelphia Eagles after their bye week. Then we get the Bills in a few weeks after that. They have 3 more divisional games, I might add, and have the Bengals on New Year's Eve. Does that sound like a road that the Chiefs really want to take on? It's starting off at 6-3. This game matters a lot to the Chiefs, guys. And trust me when I say, I'm expecting the Chiefs to play like it. It pisses me off to no end that the Chiefs play like they pick and choose when it matters and when it doesn't. I hate that. Because Trevor and I have always defended the team and says, no, we think that every game matters to this team. But we've also heard Travis Kelce and other guys say in the past that sometimes they get bored in the regular season. And when you've beaten a team as many times in a row as they have against the Broncos, and you see Travis Kelce going out of town on Friday, which, by the way, I had zero problem with.
Who gives a shit?
Who gives a shit? But people were using that. I would believe, Trevor, that even though I defend Travis and say that's not a big deal at all, my God, this guy's a veteran, he knows what he's doing. Even with that, I don't believe that Travis Kelce would have done that if the Dolphins were coming into town that Sunday. I think it's a little bit different, or they were going to Miami or something like that.
He was going to the World Series, man.
That's what I'm saying. And Patrick was going to go too, but he was sick.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm not trying to go off on a whole tangent with that. What I'm saying, though, is I think the mindset is going to be way different in this week's game than it is against the Broncos because, quite frankly, the Broncos, although are in the division of the Chiefs, are nowhere near the Chiefs in tiers.
Sure.
So the Chiefs,
focus will be different.
The Chiefs, I think the Chiefs, and you could kind of see it, Mahomes sick or not,
yeah.
Let's roll the ball out and let's just win this game because that's what they did 2 weeks previous. They played like shit offensively and beat the Broncos by 11.
Sleepwalking.
They thought they were going to do the same thing in Denver, and then they got a rude awakening. I think that rude awakening is going to go into this game against a team they were already. I think they've been planning for the Dolphins for a couple of weeks now. I think they've really been putting,
sure.
they've been putting some shit out there. You've been playing very vanilla. I think you're going to see a much more tactical game. But I want to start more on the Dolphins side of things, Trevor, real quick, and move to the Chiefs defense, if that's okay. So Dolphins are a really good team. Trevor and I both have a lot of respect for this team. They score better than anybody in the league. Number 1 offense in literally like every category. Rushing, passing, touchdowns, red zone, everything.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about the Dolphins. They might be fraudulent, Trev. They might be fraudulent.
Well, I mean, on paper they are, honestly.
Well, let's look at it. So, against teams this season that have a losing record, the Dolphins are 6-0 and average 39 points per game. Teams with above winning or have winning records this season, they're not only 0-2, they score them less than 20 points a game. They average 19 points a game. They got whooped by 20 against the Bills.
Yeah.
They got whooped by 2 touchdowns against the Eagles. Look, man, as much as I criticize the Chiefs wide receiver room, there's no question in my mind this Chiefs team is a Super Bowl winning team, a Super Bowl caliber team, which means they're in the same level, if not better, than the Bills and the Eagles. I think the Eagles and the Chiefs are more on the same line than the Bills are, but the Bills are a divisional team that has Josh Allen. So that's naturally going to be a team that can give the Dolphins some real problems, and they've owned the Dolphins, quite frankly, in the Josh Allen era. Those teams smacked the shit out of the Dolphins.
Yep.
Why should I feel any different about this Chiefs team in particular on the defensive side? For one, Trevor, I don't know if you know, I've been keeping track of this. So that the Chiefs have faced some really good wide receivers over the last several weeks. I have a tracker right here that I kept score of, Trevor. So Chiefs defensive backs versus wide receiver ones this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 6 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown. Good game. After that, it gets really rocky. Calvin Ridley, 2 catches for 32 yards, 0 touchdowns. DJ Moore, 3 catches for 41 yards and a touchdown. It was obviously the garbage time, so they weren't even playing starters. Garrett Wilson had 9 catches, good, but for only 60 yards and no touchdown. Then they played Justin Jefferson, the only guy right now in the league that could really even be compared to Tyreek Hill as far as production and ability.
Jamar Chase.
Sure, okay, yeah, fair, okay.
He's having a good
year. But
year.
one of the elites. 3 catches for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns. Look, I think that outside of Christian McCaffrey, there is not a deadlier, more efficient offensive non-quarterback in this league than Tyreek Hill. He is, in my opinion, Tyreek Hill at worst is the 12th greatest wide receiver that's ever played this game.
Yep.
He's the most unguardable man in this league, the deadliest dude in this league with a ball in his hand, in my opinion, outside of CMC. It probably been more than CMC. Trevor, I don't think he's going to go off in this game. This defense, as much as I shit on the Chiefs wide receivers and how inept I think they are, it is the complete opposite. Because as bad of a job as Brett Veach has done with the wide receivers, he has done a masterclass in this secondary in particular. That trade from Tyreek Hill is the direct result of having Trent McDuffie. The only reason the Chiefs have Trent McDuffie, he gave him that extra first-round pick. L'Jarius Sneed, a fourth-round pick. Shamari Connor, who's not even gotten play this year hardly at all, is a fourth-round pick who looks like he's going to be a promising upcoming guy. Jalen Watson, yes. Then you have Joshua Williams. You have Justin Reed. You have Brian freaking Cook. This team is loaded in the secondary, and this team was built this way for games like this. This defense, I'm gonna make a prediction right now. Tyreek Hill is gonna have less than 90 yards in this game. I know that sounds nuts. Trust me, I know it sounds nuts. He's not going to eclipse 90 yards, and he's not going to get a touchdown in this game. It's going to be Jalen Waddle or bust. Furthermore, on the flip side, Travis Kelce is going to outgain Tyreek Hill in this game. Because on the offensive side of things, the Chiefs are going to have a golden opportunity against a defense that is supposed to have Xavier Howard back, supposed to have Jalen Ramsey back, and the first time they both played together. But sure, what is one thing we know about cornerbacks against Travis Kelce? They can't do anything against Travis Kelce. We saw Jalen Ramsey just a year ago with the Rams, and Travis Kelce was making barbecue chicken out of the man. Beat him 26-10. Travis Kelce was running all over the damn field. Xavier Howard, good cornerback. But sure, when was the last time Xavier Howard was a great cornerback? 2 years ago?
Yeah.
He's been injured ever since, practically. And if we know anything about Vic Fangio's defense, what is it, Trevor? This man plays zone almost all the time. What is the defense that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce eat more than any other? Zone defense. Yep. But even if they want to play man, Trevor, you're going to really tell me that one of these corners are going to keep Travis Kelce from doing his thing?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So on the flip side, I expect Mike McDaniel to have an awesome game plan. And we know how much this game's going to matter to Tyreek Hill. And we know that he's going to want, supposedly he's got the secret celebration that he's got for the Chiefs if he scores a touchdown. Well, it's unfortunate because we're not going to see it happen. Because Steve Bagnolo has been in his bag all damn year, and I will go as far as to say that he's been just as impressive on his side of the football as Mike McDaniel has been on his side of the football this year. This is one of the best defenses, if not the best scoring defense in the NFL. And that's with Trent McDuffie yet to have an interception. That's with the Chiefs having one of the fewest interceptions in the NFL. And they're still stopping offenses the way that they do. Yards and scoring. So I think that when you look at this matchup right now, Trevor, I think the Chiefs have advantages in all these ways. I think that, again, when you're going to have to go to Travis Kelce all game, I still think this offense is going to do enough to beat that Dolphins inept defense. I think they're right now 23rd in defense total right now. They're not a very impressive defense at all. They have a good front seven, not a great front seven. Vic Fangio, I love and respect him a lot. I think he's an absolute genius on the defensive side. But I think with everything that just happened this last week, with Patrick Mahomes feeling better, knowing they have to focus on this opponent and not overlook this opponent, knowing they're going into the bye week after this and getting prepared for that second act of the NFL season, I think the Chiefs are going to unload the bag on both sides of the ball. They're going to have a very creative defensive scheme that's going to make sure that Tyreek Hill doesn't blow over them on the over the top of the defense. Because if you notice, one thing the Chiefs defense has done great this season, they've not been giving up huge chunk plays in the passing game throughout the game. You might get one or two here from a Keenan Allen, but after that, they put the clamps down. You don't see huge plays because their safety play has been incredible. Their cornerback play has been incredible. I think they're going to take this game just as seriously. I think it matters just as much to them as it does to Tyreek Hill because we've already been listening to Tyreek Hill talk before they've even played. Can you imagine what would be said and how many times we'd have to hear it if Tyreek Hill goes out there and kills the Chiefs? The Chiefs know that. And I believe in the Chiefs more than I believe in this Dolphins team. As many criticisms as I can have about how Brett Veach handled this wide receiver room, this Chiefs team is better than this Dolphins team. This coaching staff is far more experienced. I trust Andy Reid more than I like, and I love Mike McDaniel. I think the dude's awesome. Yep. But I trust this coaching staff more. I think they're going to come into this game with a ton more fans, which is going to matter. Supposedly, according to Rich Eisen and a couple of Peter King, it's like 99-1 right now ratio, Chiefs fans to Dolphins fans.
Yeah, Chiefs home game.
It's going to be basically a Chiefs home game. And I know they got there a little bit later, but I trust that Andy Reid knew what he was doing in that. I don't necessarily agree with it. I would like to see them gotten there a little earlier, but I trust that Andy Reid knows what he's doing when it comes to that. He's trusting the science, and so do I. And I think that's going to be the biggest definition of all this. But Trevor, here's the key to this game. I'm making another prediction. I'm full of predictions today. The Chiefs are going to sack Tua Tagovailoa 4 times. I think that 3 of them are going to be combined between Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu.
No Armstead.
Yes, Armstead is out. Is that confirmed? That's humongous.
Yeah,
That's
he's still in the IR, I believe. Yeah.
So the key to stopping the Dolphins is not locking down Tyreek Hill. The key to stopping the Dolphins is getting to Tua Tagovailoa. Right. So I don't know if you knew this, Trevor, but since 2022, the Dolphins are 3-6 in games that Tua has sacked 2+ times. That's only 2 times. Now he's only been sacked 12 times this season. But they have been facing pass rushes like they are facing the Chiefs outside of what 2 games, Trevor? The Buffalo Bills and the Eagles. Okay? In those games, and I have it right here so you can see it, the Buffalo Bills sacked Tua Tagovailoa 4 times. They beat him. Mm-hmm. And then against the Eagles, he was sacked 4 times, and they lost. The Chiefs are going to match that number. They're going to get to 4 again. Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu are going to be in the backfield all day. I think George Karlaftis might get that other sack, or it might be one of those stunt blitzes, those corner blitzes. Leo Chenal even maybe gets in the mix. He's going to get a lot of playing time in this game. It does sound like Willie Gay is going to give it a go, and that's what it sounds like right now. We know that Clyde didn't come with the team, but we know that they can live without Clyde. It sounds like Willie Gay is going to play in this game, though, at least right now. But I think that the Chiefs are going to get in the backfield. They're going to make it very tough on Tua. They're going to force, and here's the best thing, Trevor, because I know this Dolphins team can run the ball. Yeah. But if the Chiefs, I don't want to say we, but if the Chiefs make it to where Tua has to hand the ball off more, then all of a sudden the linebackers can start coming in a little bit closer and forcing Raheem Mostert to run to the outside, because we know he's actually been great between the tackles this year.
Yeah, he's been incredible.
Running on the outside, though, without Achane is going to be very difficult because Mostert is an older running back. So I think that if they can get those penetrations in the A and B, between the A and C gaps, then they could gouge this defense, because we saw the Broncos just a week ago put up 170 rushing yards.
That was going to be my point.
Yeah, so my point, and I know I'm running long here. My point is, Trevor, if the Chiefs just play like the Eagles and Bills do, which I believe they more than can and are more than capable, in my opinion, the better team of the 3, I think they can roll this Dolphins team. And that's with the respect of the Dolphins. I think they're a good team that's going to make the playoffs, probably will even win this division. But I think there are differences in tiers between these 2 teams. And the Chiefs now pissed off. I hate that it took a loss for that to happen, but I think they're going to be focused, driven, and here to make a point. Because we saw just last season, Trevor, Chiefs take a frustrating L. The next week go into San Francisco and drop 44. I think that's what they're going to do this week. I think it's going to be a repeat of that. They got their problems. I'm pissed off at them. I think they made some mistakes. They're going to go in there and put up a big old fucking number on a Dolphins team and make a statement and let the rest of the NFL know, hey, while we go into this bye week, don't forget about us because we're here to make a statement. I'm Patrick Mahomes still. I'm Travis Kelce still, and we're going to be the ones that have to lead the way in order for this team to win another Super Bowl. Trevor, what do you see in this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's been hard for me to kind of get a grasp on how I think this game is going to go. I'm not worried about our defense. I think we've seen this Dolphins offense as good as it's been as a front-running offense. If we're being honest, a lot of their numbers have been skewed by the blow-up games that they've had against bad defenses. When they faced good defenses, competent defenses, even in New England, they struggled against New England a couple of times. Having big offensive performances, almost lost New England in the first matchup. The Bills, as banged up as they are defensively, they still destroyed them. You know what I mean? And the secondary of Philly has been a pass funnel offense or defense all year. Granted they have a great defensive line and they banked on that and they won that game that way and dominated them. Honestly, our secondary is far better than Philly's. And if our defensive line is maybe not as talented as Philly's, but I think production wise is right there with them. Yeah. And I think we can get 4 or 5 sacks for sure. So I agree with you on that. And then Tua is a guy that just sometimes can hold on to the ball too long, isn't the best decision maker when the pocket's collapsing on him. So I could see some mistakes, maybe a possible fumble. Mistakes definitely could be made here if our defensive line does their job properly. I'm not really worried about them. At the end of the day, man, when I'm previewing this game in my mind, are we going to score touchdowns when we get down there in the red zone? Right. Because if that's the case, this is a easy win. Right. And I know that sounds arrogant because this offense has been so good, and this Miami team is sexy, and the flavor of the year so far in the AFC as far as the teams that are fun to watch. But they are paper tigers right now on paper. If you look at their schedule and who they've played when they played teams that are above 500 or are even playoff teams from last year or speculative playoff teams this year or good competent teams, they've either struggled or lost. Right. They ran it up against the Broncos. They ran it up against some bad teams. Cool, man. That's fun. That's fun to talk about. It's fun for fantasy. I get it. But if we can, I think Tyreek can go get 100 and a tutty, and we can still destroy them. Right. I'm not really worried about the Tyreek narrative. That's fun. I know it's fun for us. We want to go shut him up. I get it. He can go score a touchdown, have a celebration. We can still win by 2 scores. I don't give a shit, dude. Right. I don't really care. I think Tyreek's gonna have good numbers. I think he's going to, because he's difficult to stop. Even if he gets a quick slant or a bubble screen throw, he's a guy that can go get 60 on a quick slant, man. And that's just what it is. We got to live with that. As long as we're stopping them in the red zone, stopping him when it matters. That's all that matters to me. I don't care if he goes. I don't care if he goes and has a big day. I don't really care, man. As long as we get the dub, that's all I care about. And as long as our offense is finishing drives, we're going to win this game because I do trust our defense to make the plays when we need it. I do expect a big game from Chris Jones. I think this is a terrible matchup for the offensive line with Chris Jones, for the Miami Dolphins offensive line. They're weak on the outside. Obviously, not having their left tackle right now, and Armstead is huge. So expect Karlaftis and Minahu, guys like that, to really really eat here as well. But I think this is a massive blow up spot for Chris Jones. He was honestly not very good last week, and we want him to be better against that offensive line or the Denver's offensive line. So I think this is a big moment for Chris Jones to really establish himself as this guy that he wants to be, the defensive player of the year, and big matchups like this. And you could shine on the national stage, international stage. For Chris Jones, this is one of those games where he can really, really make that mark and make that case for himself this year and continue to do what he's been doing dominance wise. So this is a Chris Jones game for me, to go out there and absolutely wreck this game. And I mean, listen, this is I don't know. I don't know offensively who's going to really shine outside of Kelce, obviously, in our offense. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a big game. I fully expect that. And that comes with, scoring in the red zone. And I think we do correct some things. And I do think we've had a game plan ready for this matchup for a while. This was a game we probably circled on the calendar. Us choosing to take this game internationally. I think this is one of the ones that Andy Reid has had some things up his sleeve for sure, especially going up against another, bright-minded offensive juggernaut guy with the weapons that McDaniel has and the mind that McDaniel is offensively. So I think he's going to have to match that. I think this is a Pacheco game offensively. I know I said Pat's going to have a good game. I think Pacheco catches one and runs one. I think this is a game where, because you can run on Miami. We saw guys like Swift. We saw running backs eat against this defensive line that has been underwhelming, honestly. You can run against them. That's what the Patriots did. They ran the ball and they played good defense. Against them. Granted, they didn't win those games, but if you have the offense and the quarterback that we have, and you running the ball well, that's a bad. And then our defense is doing what they do best and getting after the quarterback. I think it's gonna be a long day for Tua. I do. I think our defensive line is really going to get after him. Tyreek can get his garbage time points. He can get his empty stats. As long as we get the win, I don't really care. And I think that win comes on the back of Pacheco and the arm of Patrick Mahomes and the absolute defensive prowess of his defensive line and Chris Jones. So I think it could be a fairly high-scoring game. I think with these two teams going at it, I think both teams will end up in the 20s. I think the Chiefs will end up more than likely in the 30s because this is what we do. We know we need to go put up points against this team. But I think Pacheco has a really big game here. I think he didn't do much last week. We didn't ride him as much as we should have. I think this is a game where we really try to control the pace. But these two teams are so talented offensively, man. I think there's going to be points scored. And as good as our defense, I think, is going to be, I think we're going to have some sacks, but I do think there's going to be points scored from both teams because I think that's just how both these teams play. And I don't see either team. I don't see it getting out of hand. I don't see either team getting in the 40s or anything like that. I don't see it being a lopsided win, but I think the Chiefs win by at least a score, and I do think Pacheco has a solid game here, man.
Here's why I bring up the whole Tyreek Hill not having a monster game in this matchup. It isn't just because of the fact that the Chiefs have done so well against wide receiver ones this season.
Sure.
It's because, or that it's going to be imperative that they do. Like, the Chiefs can't win if Tyreek goes off. I agree with you. I think if he was to have 135 yards and a touchdown, they could still win this game. I don't think that's the reason why. I'm saying that it all is predicated on the pressure they put on Tua. Because if you look at the two losses the Dolphins have this year, Bills and Eagles, like I said, they sacked him a combined 8 times, 4 each. In both of those games, you saw, Trevor, you and I both watched those games together. We saw how they could not get Tyreek Hill in rhythm. In the first game against the Bills, he caught 3 passes for 58 yards and no touchdowns. Yeah. In the Eagles game, he caught 11 passes, which is awesome, but only had 88 yards and a touchdown. To his standard, that's low. So you're talking about in 2 games, Tyreek Hill had 7 catches for 76 yards and 1 touchdown in averages, as far as averages are concerned. You're going to win almost every single time when you hold Tyreek to those numbers because we know this offense has to have him be great in order for them to be great because they weren't great in those 2 games. I would like to believe, Trevor, the Chiefs have a better defense than both of them. I think the Eagles probably have a better front 7, maybe. Maybe it's arguable. But secondary-wise, it's not even a debate the Chiefs have a better defense.
I don't think Tyreek has to be great for them to win a game, though. They've won the games they scored their most points. Their running backs were dominant in those games. It wasn't Tyreek. Tyreek still had good games. Yeah, but dude, they had 4, 5 touchdowns in certain games with their running backs.
You would agree though that the reason why their running backs could do what they do is because defenses have to push back because of Tyreek.
Well, and granted, dude, I'm gonna give the scheme credit here and the coaching credit here for coming from that Shanahan offensive scheme, finding ways to get creative with their running back, getting him in space, and creating great run blocking schemes for these running backs. And Mostert is a speedster still. He's older, but he's still, a 4.2, 4.3 speed guy, the guy that can go out there and, have some big chunk plays. So that's still me. I'm worried more about stopping the running game and forcing them to become a one-dimensional offense. And that's what I'm saying. Tyreek's probably going to have a good stat line at the end of this game. He just probably is. And I think they're forcing him to throw and forcing them to go have more dropbacks and throwing and chasing points if we have a lead. That's what I actually want. I'd rather actually stuff the run, force them to become one-dimensional, and having to pass too much. Yeah. That's what I want because that's when mistakes are made. Right. And that's when defenses really eat. Because if you're forcing the run, we have a lead. You're forcing them to throw the ball, and they're having more and more dropbacks for Tua to throw the ball, and we're getting after Tua. That's when mistakes, that's when fumbles can happen, that's when forced throws and picks can happen. That's what I actually want. So if Tyreek's catching 11 balls for 88, 90, 99 yards and maybe sneaks into the end zone garbage time, I'm completely fine with it. I don't give a shit.
Well, I think the Dolphins are the type of team they're going to run the ball regardless.
Sure.
But I do think this is a game, Trevor, where the Chiefs offense comes out there and scores a touchdown early.
Well, I mean, it's going to have to be.
If they do that,
you need to do that.
Then you're forcing the Dolphins' hand a little bit more. Now, again, they're still going to run the ball. That offense is very disciplined. They will run the ball no matter what the score is. But I do believe that if you put them in a position where they're down 10-0, all of a sudden they're like, okay, we're going to have to start throwing the ball. We're going to start getting away for a little bit from the run game because even if they're getting 5 yards a carry, the Chiefs' defense has also, on the flip side, been very good at stopping teams in the red zone. So I think that this is going to be one of those games where the Dolphins are going to have to start to kind of press a little bit themselves. And again, I know that Tyreek Hill is the emphasis here because of what this matters in the matchup and the storyline and all that.
Yep.
I think the Chiefs are going to, like I said, get to Tua so much that he's going to be a non-factor.
Yeah,
I really believe
that.
I
think this offense. I think the smart thing for this offense to do is to try to keep the Dolphins' offense on the sideline as much as possible. I think that's why I think Pacheco running the ball, and I think you could run against this defense. I mean, we just saw Carolina go up 14-0. Granted, I know that they're not the team that we are, and they were not going to capitalize on that on a 14-point lead. They ended up falling in that game, but they went up well, and they were running the ball really well with Chuba Hubbard and whoever their other backup was, because Miles Sanders was out, so Chuba Hubbard was running all over Miami,
right?
And Adam Thielen was out there having a day against them in that first half,
right?
So if those guys can go out there and do that, with Bryce Young throwing at the helm, throwing that ball, I think Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense can go out there and have a hot start, and I think we're the kind of team. Obviously, if we get a 14-point lead on them, we're the team that can ride that out and coast to a win by controlling the clock, running Pacheco. Getting McKinnon involved, having these, these surgical kind of drives, and ending in touchdowns.
Right.
Jesus Christ, can we get some touchdowns when we have these really good long surgical drives and getting into the red zone and scoring touchdowns and not settling for field goals? Because this is not a team you want to settle for field goals against. I do expect this Chiefs team to go out there and put up points this week, man.
I agree. Let's look at the two key players of this game. Trevor, let's go ahead and start with you, man.
I mean, I alluded to it already. I think this is a Pacheco game. He was kind of a no-show for the most part in that Denver game. For some reason, we went away from him. I don't know if we were saving him for this week, because I think this is a really big blow-up spot for him. I do like Pacheco a lot in this game. I think he scores a couple touchdowns. I think he can score one through the air and one on the ground. And then Chris Jones. This has got to be a Chris Jones game. He's got to be the guy this week. He's got to go out there and wreck this game. And if he's demanding double teams, which I know he will. That opens up things for George Karlaftis, who's been coming on as of late, looks incredible. And Amenahu, I expect those guys to get theirs. I expect some batted balls, too, from Chris Jones and Amenahu, the height of those two guys. I expect some, because Tua is not the biggest guy. We've seen that strategy against guys like that, like Russ, and the shorter quarterbacks. We've batted a lot of balls down against those guys. So I think, if they're going to try to get quick strikes to Tyreek and Waddle, the guys that can really eat after the catch, batted balls down on those short, quick slants, I think, and reading the quarterback's eyes is going to be a big strategy for this defensive line and Chris Jones. So I expect Chris Jones to go out there and get a couple sacks this week, man. So that's my guy, him and Pacheco.
Yeah, it's for me, it's going to be almost exactly what you just said on the defensive side. I agree. I think it's Chris Jones because of the fact that this is one of those games that makes him who he is.
Yeah.
If he has a big game against a bad team, you're like, oh yeah, it's great. It's awesome. Like he's awesome. He's a great player, and this is what he does. But in big moments and big times, big opportunities, you got to have your best do what they do.
You got to have at moments when he shows up.
And I think this is a moment where he does it. In fact, Trevor, I'll go as far as say I think he has a strip sack in this game.
I love it, man.
I don't know if it goes back to the house or anything like that. I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on it. I just think that he's going to pulverize Tua in this game.
Well, and Tua is prone to have those kind of blunders. Yeah. For sure. And
I think this is look, everybody's hyping this game up, and I get why. The matchup looks really sexy and fun and all that stuff, but I really think the defense, eventually the national media is going to have to acknowledge the Chiefs' defense. Yeah. And I think this is going to be that game where they finally do, because I think they're going to hold the Dolphins under 25 points. I really do. And that's going to be the third team to do that this season, and that would be their third loss. That's the point, guys, is this Chiefs defense is almost built perfectly to stop this Dolphins offense. It's almost built as if if you were to look across the league and say, okay, which defense do you think dedicated themselves to beating a team like the Dolphins? It's the Chiefs defense. And you've seen the Bills defense dominate them. You saw the Eagles defense dominate them. And the Eagles at that point had a horrific secondary. And they still beat their ass because why? They were able to get pressure. Well, Trevor, do you know who right now is third in sacks in the NFL, or second in the sacks in the NFL this year? The Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. So I think that's going to continue to move. I think the defense is going to continue to be a reason why the Chiefs win games. But my second player, man, it's without question, it's going to be Travis Kelce. I know, and it's such an easy pick. But, guys, he's going to get 8 to 12 catches in this game. He's going to have to. Patrick Mahomes has one guy he trusts. I think Travis Kelce's going to have a very similar game to what he had against the Chargers. I think it's going to be 10, 11 catches for 145 yards and a touchdown, maybe 2. I really believe that because I think the Chiefs are going to flirt with 30 points in this game, if not more. And I think the Chiefs, Trevor, I'm with you. I agree. I think they're going to win this game by a touchdown. But I think that I honestly think that there's a better chance they win by double digits than they win by a field goal. I think this is going to be a statement game for the Chiefs. And they're going to have to make that statement if they're going to want to give you and I and people like us belief that they can still handle things with or without a really proven wide receiver room.
I mean, losing back-to-back AFC games is going to be a rough thing to live with moving forward.
Like you like to say, the over my dead body game.
For sure.
I think that's the Chiefs. And again, what better situation, what better way to do it than right now overseas before your bye week, knowing you got a whole week, yeah, exactly, against your former foe or your former buddy, guy you helped win Super Bowl with, and you've won a Super Bowl without him. Do that before the bye week and get a rest, get to recharge, get to rethink things, and get ready for a Monday Night Football spectacular with the Eagles in 2 weeks' time. It's perfect, man. It's a perfect opportunity for the Chiefs to go out there and just unload the bag. They better have one, though, Trevor, because they come out there and look bad offensively, and then we have 2 weeks to think about that.
Well, we're going to be in the red zone consistently. We are every week. We're not scoring touchdowns, and if we're scoring touchdowns and we start converting these red zone trips, it's over. Yeah. We're going to beat anyone. Right. We beat anyone if we're converting touchdowns because we're going to live. The Chiefs are in the red zone consistently every week, man. It's just a matter of converting those into touchdowns, not field goals.
Believe it or not, guys, as critical and as pessimistic, Trevor said it, I agree. As pessimistic as I view things a lot of times, I have not wavered. I do believe this Kansas City Chiefs team, will win the Super Bowl. And it's going to be because of what they do in games like this upcoming week. Do I like seeing bullshit like that in Denver? No, I hate it. But I do think that Travis Kelce's going to stay healthy. I think Patrick Mahomes and him are going to continue that goat-to-goat connection. And I think this defense is going to continue to be for real, guys. And I think that's going to be just enough to get them through. Because to the point of what we're seeing in this season, this feels, if we're being real, Trevor, this feels like a throwback year. It feels like we're in like 2001, 2000, where it's like, defenses are leading the way, and running backs are leading offenses. Look at Christian McCaffrey right now.
Look at the lowest scoring since like 2009 or something.
Yeah, it's over a decade. Yes, easily over a decade. So this would be a season where a team like the Chiefs that happen to have the best quarterback and coach duo with just enough offensively with a great defense can squeak by and win a Super Bowl. I think that's what's going to happen, guys. Yeah. Is this the ultimate recipe? No, I'd like to see things a little bit better, but we've already talked about that enough. Fact is, the Chiefs are the better team between these two, and they're going to show it on Sunday against the Miami Dolphins. And Trevor and I will have our full slate of picks. We promised before the show, before the game kicks off. I actually, just to let you guys know, a little side note, because you know that we're busy with Starcade Media here. We do a lot of shows with them every single week. Trevor and I will not only be doing a post-game show chatting up the Chiefs, I actually will be joining Shaggy Shane, Noah Groniger, and Rich Baldinger for the pregame show before the Chiefs. So tune in. I think we start at like 7:30, 7:45-ish. Our guy Shaggy Shane can confirm that in the comments if he can. But yes, I will be doing a pregame show as well. So it's going to be a busy Sunday, man. We're going to be talking before and after the game. So strap in. Go ahead and get it to your Starcade Media YouTube channel, their Facebook page as well. Go ahead and get on there because we're going to be on there all day tomorrow, guys. So I hope you're ready for that because I know I am. Trevor, let's get to the people real quick. If there's any other additional comments, because I know that the chat's been on fire today. So if there's any other takes that people have, questions they have, let's get to them real quick before we get to our final segment of the day.
Let's go right to our guy, Noah Groniger, who just commented this. Number 1 rush offense, Miami, versus number 18 rush defense of KC. We've given up 292 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's a worry. That's definitely a worry, and that's why I said that.
That's why stuffing the run was so big for me in my point.
Yes, 100% agree. I think that with the focus on both sides of the ball being where it's at now in this game, I don't believe that the Dolphins are going to be able to just go in there and do what they did, like what the Broncos did last week. Could they? Sure, because they're more than capable of doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that you're going to see a much more focused defense. And again, I think that the Chiefs, unfortunately, I don't agree with this tactic, but I think they've been overlooking some of these other opponents and focusing on the opponents, like you said, Trevor, from the beginning of the season. They circled their calendar. They chose this game to be overseas. They knew this was going to be a spectacle. I think they're going to come into this game prepared on both sides of the ball to do what they need to do and execute properly. And I think it's going to shock a lot of people by how well the defense does against the rush in this game. Because if we saw something else against the Bills and the Eagles as well, they forced the Dolphins to throw the ball a lot.
Well, and another way to get a team to go away from the run is to score.
Right.
Score points, and force them to throw the ball because the Dolphins will do that if you get a lead on them. And I think our defense is good enough to force mistakes when you're forcing them to throw the ball because like the Carolina game when they went up 14, that's not a defense and a team that's going to build on that. And even with Miami forced to throw the ball on that, they came back very quickly because that defense just wasn't capable of remaining atop of that. So
yeah, to that point, Trevor, remember when A'Chan was healthy during the Bills game? In that Bills game, him and Mostert had a combined 12 rushes.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the Bills were scoring points on them.
Yeah, and then the Eagles, 3-4 weeks later, whenever it was, when Achane was already out and they had Ahmed, him and Mostert had a combined 11 rushes for 48 yards.
That's what I'm saying. If you score points early, get up on them, force them to throw the ball. That's a great formula to beat this team. That's why us establishing our run game offensively with Pacheco and us scoring points and getting after them defensively and stuffing the run and stopping Mostert from getting going, because Mostert is very capable of having still very big games, man.
Yeah.
And Javonte Williams having the best game of his career, of the year so far last week against us was not fun. Now having to go against the number one rushing offense.
Right.
So I agree very much with Noah, man. We're gonna have to get some stuff in order here
100%.
before this game. So John Harrison, if they hold Hill like Philly did, 11 for 88, that'll work. Just don't let them dominantly run the ball. Another good point of stuff in the run here, man.
Couldn't agree more.
Kevin Wilds, this is from our guy James T. Kirk. Kevin Wilds says Tyreek and Miami won the trade. Is KW nuts?
I mean, look, they did, but so did the Chiefs.
Both teams won that.
Exactly. Like, nobody lost is the point. The Dolphins won because they got the most deadly wide receiver in the league, and their offense has exploded ever since. But are we going to really sit here and pretend the Chiefs lost that trade when they literally held the Lombardi Trophy 8 months after making the trade? Or what was 9-10 months after making the trade? Give me a break.
Right. I mean, we literally have jewelry after the fact. So, I mean, if anyone won it more, it's still the Chiefs. Yeah. We won the Super Bowl, man.
Right.
Like, that's the goal for every team, and we accomplished that after the fact. So
100%.
We still won that trade more than anybody else. Feezy on YouTube. I might be wrong, but I just feel the Chiefs defense will be the story, even though I feel this offense is going to show up, but it's going to be a result of some turnover short fields for the offense.
100% agree. This is what I'm saying. I think this is because you even saw Schrags on Good Morning Football just yesterday talking about how he thinks this storyline is going to be about the secondary for the Chiefs, of how they're going to put on a show. I 100% agree. This is going to be a game where finally the national media goes, hey, I can see it right now, Trevor, Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whenever all the games are over. Do the Chiefs have the best defense in the NFL? I really believe that's going to be one of the topics because I think they're going to put on a show against this Dolphins offense. The Chiefs offense is going to do enough, and then you're going to see the Chiefs move forward at 7-2 going against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then you're going to have the bash of the bash, the Super Bowl rematch, two badass teams clicking, doing their thing, coming into Monday Night Football in Arrowhead, dude. Like I really think that's going to be the storyline going into that game.
Yeah, I hope so. John Harrison, let's not forget Carolina had Miami down 14-0 a few weeks ago, and then they rolled them. Carolina. Miami is good, but I have far more respect for Buffalo and Cincy.
That's fair. That's 100% fair.
Agree more. Brian Parrott says 30-17 Fins, so we're getting some predictions going on.
I like it. Give us your predictions, guys.
Yeah, I've seen some. Let's see. Jay Brickman on YouTube. Chiefs will have a receiver go off for over 100 yards in this game.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Rashee Rice. So, I mean, we must be expecting a big game from Rashee Rice. And Rashee Rice has had 70, almost 80, in a tutty.
Sure.
So that's a guy I can definitely see eating against that secondary.
I welcome it.
I mean, he's a guy definitely, I think, after the catch for sure can.
What has it been, Trevor? It's been, I think, 18 or 19 consecutive regular season games the Chiefs have not had a receiver go for 100 yards. Yeah. I'm all for that streak being broken.
To do it,
well, sure. Seeing the Chiefs let all those streaks get broken last week, but negatively, let's go ahead and break some streaks positively this week. How about it, fellas?
Shit, that would be great. Trish on YouTube, Chiefs 30, Dolphins 17. Let's freaking go, Chiefs.
Same score. I like that. Okay, guys.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, it was her and Brian, I think.
Brian had it, but flipped. He had the Fins winning.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, he had 30-17 Fins.
Okay.
Let's see. Jay Brickman on YouTube. It's built to play the Bengals better than years past. I think he's alluding to the
secondary defense. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
James T. Kirk. I think TK will thrive tomorrow. I think Jalen Ramsey is washed, but Vic Fangio will try to use Ramsey on Kelsey. Man, I hope please do that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen all these elite safeties and corners try to go one-on-one and man up Kelsey, and it's backfired damn near every time. Man.
How degrading would it be for this Dolphins team moving forward if they were so stoked about getting Jalen Ramsey, period, the acquisition, and then getting him back, and then Travis Kelce goes out there and puts up like $130 on him.
I'm not listen. I I don't. It's very rare for a cornerback to have that much of an impact on a game, just single-handedly. Look, I know there's like those needle in the haystack guys that are once-in-a-lifetime kind of talents, but in today's game, it's very hard for one single cornerback or DB to have that much of an impact without a good defensive line or getting pressure on the opposing quarterback. It's very hard for that guy to be that guy. And I've seen Ramsey have big moments, but it's really been in garbage time. He's jumped some routes and had some picks, and I get it. That's cool, man. He did it against I can't remember. He had like a pick last week, I think, but on his first game back or whatever. That's cool. But like I Travis Kelce against any DB, I put my money on it. Please man up.
Yes.
Please do that all day. I'll take that all day. James C. Kirk also ends that comment with, I also think Pacheco has a breakout game. I think this is a great opportunity for Pacheco to do that. I think this is really, like I said, he barely got work last week against the Broncos, which he should have had a lot more. And I think hopefully we realize we didn't utilize him enough in the red zone. And I think this is a really good moment for him to have a multi-score game. So I'm glad you're on board with me there, Mr. Kirk. Let's see. Jay Brickman. Last year, it was the Colts loss that pissed the team off. Denver this year. I mean, listen, man, that could be a launching pad game where we maybe, needed that refresher. Not that we necessarily needed that or wanted that to happen, but
was the Lions game not enough?
Well, yeah, of course, man. Like I don't play into those narratives typically either. I just think we just were awful, and the turnovers pile up that much when you have 4 to more turnovers in a game, 3 to 4 to 5 turnovers in a game. You just don't win.
If you need losses to better your winning ability, you're not a winner.
Yeah. And no player in that locker room will say, "Yeah, maybe we needed that." No, we're a championship team, dude.
I hate that takes so much. I think they needed a good loss.
Yeah.
No, win games.
Yeah.
Like go out there and win football games. You don't need to
catch
lose.
The ball.
You don't need to lose to understand why winning is the thing you're supposed to do. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Trevor, do I need to go and drive my car off a bridge to realize that driving your car off the bridge is a really bad idea, or keeping your car on the road is a better idea? No, because that results in a lot of other things that you don't want to deal with. So how about you just keep your car on the road, and that saves you a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Wild thought, I guess. I don't know.
Noah Greniger looks like Dolphins will have their left tackle and center back, but will be without both starting guards. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Armstead being back.
I did hear their center was back, though. I did hear he was back. I didn't hear about Taron Armstead, though.
That's fine. I mean, we've seen us go against good offensive lines and still thrive, and Chris Jones is still a one-man wrecking crew. But
even if they're back, real quick, even if they are back, I mean, you're talking about a lot of rust, too, and the defensive line that you want to go up against in this situation coming back, that's...
Sure, man.
Whew, that's gonna be stressful.
And he also adds first time the Dolphins will have Ramsey and Howard out there together all season.
Yep.
Man, I don't really care. I mean, last year we saw them.
It's a fact. It's just a fact.
It's a fact. I'm just saying my personal opinion. Like having them out there, like those are just names on jerseys. No offense to them, but we've seen. I mean, this was the same narrative going in last year to the Niners. Like all these guys.
Nick Bosa was back.
Granted, Nick Bosa was back, and they were still a little banged up, but they still had Warner and all those guys out there that were killers. And we went out there and lit up the scoreboard. That was a better defense than this is. Even with all these guys back, I don't really care about that, man. Like it is a statement worth noting because of the woes of our offense, sure. But I'm not too worried about that, to be honest with you, man. Let's see. Noah adds another one. Find a number 4 corner back 𝚂𝙿𝙾𝙺𝙴 and attack. Oh, he stank. Okay, he's pointing out the guy that we should attack offensively on their defense. So yeah, I mean I fully expect
on an NFL roster right now.
Of course, he's been getting torched all year. I fully expect Andy Reid and the film crew to have some guys that they fully plan on targeting, and I think that's why I think low key this will be a Pacheco game, in my personal opinion. I think we're going to kind of zig when everyone's zagging, and they're going to expect us to really attack the year, which we will. Pat's going to have his game, but I expect this to be a really good Pacheco game to note. Maybe his best game of the year.
You know what's going to be funny? Real quick, I don't want to interrupt everybody else because it's your guys' time.
That was it as far as the chatter.
Okay.
Goes, so.
You know what I think is going to... I would not be shocked if this happens, man. First play of the game is a bomb pass to Sky Moore for a touchdown. Like I don't know why that just came to me right now, because we're sitting here talking about how we've all addressed the fact he's a bust.
Well, Andy Reid was spending all week defending him on that play.
Dude, I just thought about it. It just came to me right now. So guys, clip this if you guys remember to. I have a feeling they're going to try to make a statement this game that Skyy Moore's not a bust, even though I've come to the realization he is. Don't be shocked.
As of right now, he is. He can definitely change.
Don't be shocked if you see Patrick Mahomes do that. The shotgun formation, does the knee. Pacheco runs across, RPOs it, drops back, steps up, drops a big old ball in Skyy Moore's hands.
Well, it's frustrating to do because we know he's capable.
Yeah,
we know Skyy Moore.
We hope he's capable.
I mean, I'm just saying. Watch this tape. He was the top graded wide receiver in the draft against cover 2 and press man because he was so good off the line of scrimmage. And he is good off the line of scrimmage still. It's just when the play breaks down and when he breaks his route, and the communication and the trust between him and Pat, it has not developed, man. And it's been an issue, and then the drops on top of it.
This is going to be so funny if that happens, though.
I'll take it.
I mean, I'm just saying,
take it
because I know I'm going to hear so much shit and like feedback wise. I'm just going to laugh because I'm like, all right, guys, he finally had himself a game. He finally put him. Like I totally see it because you know how weird football's been this season. Like it makes total sense if something like that happens.
Sure, I mean, I'll take the tutties wherever we get them, man. I don't really care. Just go out and get this win. I do not really care. But yeah, I think it's a good ground game for the Chiefs this week.
I saw one question I wanted to address real quick, Trevor. Okay. Somebody was asking about FAU.
That must have been far back. I didn't see that one.
Well, I think it's a new one, actually. It says, was FAU a reach?
Brian Parrott.
Yeah, a couple of people actually asked about it.
FAU was a
Chase
consolation prize. That pick was for Anton Harrison.
Yeah, our guy Chase asked the question, I think, initially.
Oh, okay, yep.
If we could put that on the screen, dude. Gotcha. Yeah, so Chase asked, was FAU a reach? I don't think so. I don't think he was initially what the Chiefs wanted as far as who they wanted. I do think, though, that the Chiefs were intending on going after a guy on the defensive side of things because they knew this wasn't a wide receiver heavy class, and they weren't going to be able to get to one of those guys that were highly touted, like a Zay Flowers or any of those guys, even though the Chiefs were working with Zay Flowers this offseason. I also think that the Chiefs were looking at offensive tackles, but the problem was offensive tackle was a really bad offensive tackle draft as well. I know a lot of people put Anton Harrison there, although I just don't think he was a guy that the Chiefs really believed in. So I think they went with what was best available, and I don't believe he was a reach at all because he kind of fell to the Chiefs. I thought FAU was already off the board because he's a damn good pass rusher. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. This guy's a stud. He's from Kansas City, grew up in the Arrowhead just like Trevor and I did. So it's a good story, but I also think this guy's going to turn into something.
Oh, and we also drafted him knowing that we have a Minhu.
Exactly.
I think not every guy that's drafted where he's drafted has to be a day one contributor, which he was in a Minhu's absence. He wasn't putting up big numbers, obviously, but we saw some things and some flashes that have promise.
Did he have 7 or 8 pressures?
And it's a dynasty move. Look, man, we have so much depth on defense right now, and it's so cheap and so young. He's more of a privilege pick. We know we have so much depth here at this defensive line, and we're constantly building on it every single season.
A Minhu gives you a minute to develop. How about that?
I'm just saying, man. Yeah, and he's already a guy that's under contract. FAU's a guy that's going to be under a rookie contract for a few seasons. A guy that can build into something. I'm not rushing for him to need to be something special right away. That's where I'm at. I mean, we have Chris Jones and a Minhu this year. And George Karlaftis is really looking great this season. So that's a guy that can, develop and grow as with the draft capital we gave up for him.
Yeah.
To be the guy maybe possibly in the future. So I'm cool with where we got him, man. John Harrison updates us here with the injuries. Robert Hunt, the guard, is out. Okay. Armstead and Williams, offensive tackles, are both still questionable. Because I think Armstead just got his window open from IR.
Okay.
And then light practice at practice yesterday for both the tackles there.
Sounds like they'll probably give it a go.
I mean, this is the game that they would probably need him to. But and John Harrison also follows that up with I think it's going to come down to Butker like the Super Bowl. He hits a game winner in the last minute, 33-30.
Oh, okay. So he's expecting the Dolphins to put up some points. Okay.
Would not be surprised if that was the kind of ending to this game.
I did see one question from Bumpa BB. Yep. Do you really think we should cut down the wide receiver rotations to like 4 players and get Rashi at least 80% of the snaps?
Listen, this is what I've been saying, man, for a while. So
yes.
He needs to be on the field. He needs to be on the field more than MVS. Let me be real right now. I think MVS. Listen, I know he's the field stretcher. He's the guy, but we need playmakers right now. And I think Rashee Rice has been as fair or not fair to this kid being year one. He's been the best playmaker in this offense offensively for as far as the receivers go.
Yak.
And I think he's built that trust with Pat too. Pat's looking at him in the red zone. Pat's looking at him, over the middle. Those are the big time plays. You know what I mean? So I think Rashee Rice has got to be on the field more, and I think he's gradually being on the field more every single week.
Yep.
He's built on that every week, and I think he's going to be the guy down that stretch. Unfortunately, like I said, fair or unfair, I think he's got to be the guy right now because he's been the most impressive, and he has Pat's trust, and that is a big deal. So I do think Rashee Rice should be on the field a lot more than he already has been. I think that could really become established this week. So.
Yeah, I liked Trish's comment in response to the FAU stuff. I really like the FAU pick.
Yep.
He has a lot of techniques in the process of getting to the quarterback, just needs refinement. Couldn't agree more.
Sometimes patience, not every guy is a guy that jumps off the TV screen right away, regardless of where they're drafted. I mean, sometimes, it is what it is. And he's playing behind a better player right now in Aminu.
You're seeing the development of George Karlaftis where, rookie season he had 6 sacks. He really came on in the second half of the season, and he was playing all the time. FEU is not playing a third of the time that Karlaftis is playing or played in his rookie season. Right. And I do believe that FAU is actually the more talented person between Karlaftis and him. I think that Karlaftis is just an absolute bull. But here you're seeing the technique start to come sharp for Karlaftis as well. I think FAU has a little bit of a jump start when it comes to technique. You see that you saw the film, FAU's hands and his swim motions are there. He already had that shit down. Karlaftis is just this physical freak that was just pushing tackles backwards.
A motor.
FAU's going to be one of those guys that has the bend. He gets that shoulder drop.
Swim moves.
Yeah, the swim moves, the techniques. Give me more of a Dwight Freeney style guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's high praise.
He's very tactical though. He's very fluid in his movements.
Yes.
George's is more of a motor bull rush kind of does not stop until the whistle kind of guy, which obviously you love, and he's been showing out this year. So
couldn't agree more.
His
And
defensive
guys,
line is in good shape, man.
holy shit, these comments have been amazing today. It's been popping since the beginning of the show, before the show. Shit, man, I saw people getting in the chat. This is freaking great. Keep that going, guys. We love the conversations, even the sidebars that you guys have with each other. We love this. This is why we're here. This is what we thrive on. This is what keeps us motivated to keep doing the show. And if you guys want to keep it going outside of when the show's done, keep that going on the YouTube side of things. You guys can jump on our Facebook page. It's in our descript. You can join our X. You got whatever you guys want to do, man. Just keep chiming in and talking amongst yourselves. I love the fact there's like people that have become friends in our comments. This is so cool. Like the tendencies and stuff of James T. Kirk talking about, hey, Brian, I sometimes come on the show to listen to Lance and Trevor and read your takes. Like that's just so cool to see. I appreciate you guys doing that stuff, and we love you guys so much for it. Trevor, we have one more order of business to get to. What is it called? Hold this L. Each and every episode, we finish off every single episode with a series of L's in the world of sports. Whether those L's are friendly or not so friendly L's in the world of sports, we promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, deserve those L's in the world of sports. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week, my man?
Listen, man, I have all the respect in the world for the Raiders. I'm just kidding. No, I do not. Anytime I get a chance to shit on the Raiders, man, I'm going to do it. And, if you were a betting man, and I think there were bets on who would be the first coach fired this season, the favorite was Josh McDaniels. And that premonition came to pass for good reason. I mean, if you look at the decisions and the track record of Josh McDaniels, anywhere he's gone in taking the leadership and at the helm of as a head coach has been an absolute utter failure. And I'm glad it's happened in our division twice. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he absolutely blundered the career of Tim Tebow away.
Right.
Didn't know how to use Tim Tebow, who was an absolute stud athlete. Not a great thrower of the football, but a guy that could, I think in today's game, could have really been a good player if I'm being honest. With a lot of the motions and the running of the quarterback position today, I think Tim Tebow would have actually done well. But was thrown into a terrible situation with a terrible head coach. And it's happened in the AFC West twice for Josh McDaniels, and I couldn't be happier about that fact. But on top of all of it, man, it is a talented team over there in Vegas, at least offensively. You had the leading rusher last year and Josh Jacobs. You have an all-time talent, a receiver, and Devontae Adams. You got Hunter Renfrow, who's a solid slot guy. He's been a solid slot guy there, even when Derek Carr was there. And you have some other talent there, on the offensive as well. And they brought over, the receiver, Jacoby Myers from New England, who's been a solid player this year. So there's no real excuse for them to be as bad as they've been. And they've had some really, they lost to the Bears, throwing Brian Hoyer out there instead of, their Aiden O'Connell, who's obviously looked much better. He's a solid draft pick as well. Could be the future of that team, who knows. and then you're benching your starting quarterback who you paid instead of Derek Carr. I mean, there's so much has piled up on this story. Being a Raiders fan has got to be rough. I thought being a Broncos fan was rough. I mean, this is.
And Derek Carr took the high road too when he had that question he about it in the Saints presser. He took the high road.
The guy that they paid over him is being benched. I mean, I knew this was coming with Garoppolo because you know me, I am on the Garoppolo's trash train the whole time. He was a product of the system of the Niners. We see there's a guy, the very last pick of the draft is out here looking good, at least for a time was looking really good, and Brock Purdy, and he's kind of getting exposed lately, but that is a system that makes quarterbacks look better than they are in my mind. And then on top of all that, man, you have the after the fact, after the firing, even before the firing, Davante Adams was coming out talking about, do we need a change of scenery? Just publicly, basically, putting the tea leaves out there like there's a change coming, or I am asking for a change. I don't like my situation with this head coach. Davante Adams' last game had 1 catch.
Yeah,
that is unacceptable, man.
When was the last time
yes, that's Aaron Rodgers would never, right? that's craziness, and in a football reality that should never happen for a guy like that is healthy on the field, out there for as many snaps as he was to get 3 targets and 1 catch. Unbelievable. And I just want to read a couple of the quotes here from their receiving core. A couple of guys on the team. This is from Hunter Renfrow. There was a different energy, Renfrow said. I think AP alluded to it. It's fun when you have nothing to lose. Let's go out there, have a great time, and play hard and play fast. We're not walking on eggshells everywhere anymore. And then that was followed up by Davante Adams talking about the new interim head coach, Antonio Pierce, who actually that presser, his introductory presser was actually, I like the guy's vibe. He has like a kind of a BME, no bullshit kind of vibe. I like that.
Player, won a couple titles with the Giants.
Yeah, and then Davante Adams, alluded or discussing Antonio Pierce hiring or interim hiring. I'm ready to run through a wall for that man. It's a good feeling to have him at the helm. Don't get it confused, Adams said. It's not a celebration that we have a new coach, and there's been changes made. Yeah, right. We obviously think it was time. One way or another, it was time for a sort of change. For this to be, we're 8-9 weeks into the season, man. If this to already be the case for the Raiders, I don't think anyone had high hopes for this team. But to be as bad as they are already this year, man, and to lose some of the losses that they've had is pretty bad. And then for your, interim coach come in there and automatically be a favorite and have all these players wanting to run through walls for him and really, really play on him, and then players talking about not having to walk on eggshells anymore. There's a lot of debacles, man. Even the Chandler Jones situation, that's obviously a separate thing, but just a lot of things going on to those bad vibes for this team from the jump of this season. So I feel for Raiders fans in a way, man. But Josh McDaniels, this is something that I think his days of being a head coach and his opportunities of being a head coach are absolutely not only numbered, but they are done. I don't think anyone's ever going to give this.
So I fully expect him to see him be a head coach next year.
Well, that means he's going to be on the coaching board somewhere for the Patriots again. Belichick's probably going to bring him in somehow, some way. Yeah. He always finds a way to bring his guys back.
Maybe Bill O'Brien gets a head coaching job at college.
But how many times do we need to see this Belichick tree of head coaches to absolutely just be terrible on the league? Patricia, numerous opportunities, failures, terrible failures.
A lot like Bill Belichick, Josh McDaniels had the luxury of having Tom Brady all those years.
Yeah, yeah, man. No doubt. Him being the OC got him jobs just from being the OC of the most accomplished quarterback of all time, right, and one of the best to ever do it. So, yeah, man. Like I said, I'm glad this happened in this division twice for 2 different teams, 2 different occasions with Josh McDaniels. But Josh McDaniels, your career as a head coach is done, my guy. So for that, do me a solid favor here and hold this L.
So first of all, I want to give a shout out to our favorite family, South Philly fam.
Yeah, man.
Big Charlie Saloon.
W's for Big Charlie.
Yeah, big dubs on this one. I want to start that off by saying that they hooked us up with these. Trevor and I both got our new hoodies. Seems like every year now, our Big Charlie's family just sends us stuff, hooks us up all the time, and they never ask for anything in the return. The only thing they ever ask is when Trevor and I are going to be getting out there to South Philly and hanging out with them.
Got to make it happen, man.
We're going to be making it happen. I promise you guys. I wish it was today. I wish it was yesterday. But Laura, Michael, Paulie, all you guys, love you guys so much. Can't wait to meet the whole family. I know you guys have called us before. We've talked on the phone. We've texted. Got to hang out at the parade this earlier this year. Can't put a price tag on family, man, and you guys are absolute family to us. I don't know why you guys like us so much, why you guys love us, but you know what? We accept it gladly, and we appreciate you guys being so loyal to us here at the Spoken Podcast. But it's deeper than just the show. You guys are absolutely, really family to us, and I couldn't appreciate you guys any more than we do. So I wanted to give a shout-out, dubs, to our people over there in the South Philly fam. Big Charlie's, if you guys are in the area ever, go look them up, go hang out with them, tell them Lance and Trevor from the Spoken Podcast sent you. And they'll definitely greet you guys like family. I want to also give a W to somebody else, Trevor, because I did not think there was a chance that Francis Ngannou would do what he did in that fight against Tyson Fury.
That was impressive.
I thought it was either going to be a joke, dance with gloves like the McGregor-Mayweather fight, or Fury's going to piece up Ngannou and it was going to be a quick one. It was neither.
Yeah, true contender, man.
Ngannou looked incredible. And beyond the fact that he knocked Fury down on his ass with a legitimate left hook, he, to me, looked like the more energized fighter. He was more efficient with his punches. He was more aggressive. He looked better than Tyson Fury. I understand that Tyson Fury may not have taken him as seriously, but even in Tyson Fury's own stance, he said that was his longest camp ever. He said he spent like 12 weeks prepping for Ngannou. So what is the excuse? There isn't one. Ngannou just outperformed him, and that damn official that gave a Fury a 3-point victory is why Ngannou ultimately lost the fight. It almost, I don't want to say it's rigged, but dude, that felt rigged because there's no way.
We're talking about boxing here,
bro. Yeah, I watched every single second of that 10-round fight, and I'm telling you right now, there is no way anybody with a working eyeball, let alone two, let alone paid to judge and officiate fights, could tell me that Fury won that fight by 3 points. He didn't win the fight. Ngannou actually won. I don't give a fuck what anybody tells me. I watched the damn fight. And I'm telling you right now, Ngannou was the better fighter in that one. And for somebody to score 3 points better for Fury is just absolutely bullshit.
I'm almost certain we'll get a rematch or maybe a trilogy here.
So, hopefully.
The money's too good, and I expect that to happen.
Yeah, oh, my God, dude. Yeah, the pay-per-view buys alone.
Yeah.
But that's where my W's stay. My L's are going to go to the other side and the other form of fighting. So we got some news. Trevor and I got a text today from a friend of ours that exposed the Conor McGregor stuff when it came to how much the UFC was making off Conor McGregor's pay-per-views and how much money Conor McGregor actually wasn't making, which is why he ultimately went and did that dance with gloves with Mayweather, because he made 3-4 times the amount of money he made in his entire UFC career in one fight.
Yep.
My guy, somebody I actually like a lot, and I know people in the UFC, MMA world hate him, is Ariel Helwani. He's a guy that's been disgraced and basically banished from the UFC, but he still has connections and contacts and still has even people from the UFC on his show. We all know Dana White absolutely hates him, but see, something Ariel Helwani is really good at is collecting receipts. And since earlier this year when we knew the Ngannou-Fury fight was going to take place, there was a lot of people that felt kind of like I did, where I said it's going to probably be a quick one because I just don't think stepping in the ring with the world-class boxer is going to work out well for anybody that doesn't do this on a normal basis. It's just going to be disrespectful. I understand why Ngannou's doing it because he's going to make some money. But see, Dana White took it even further, Trevor, and this is a receipt that Ariel Helwani decided to put out there, and I'm going to play it for you guys so you guys can hear everything that Dana White said about the initial thoughts of this Ngannou-Fury fight.
Francis just thinks that he's in a position where he's got some Conor McGregor-Mayweather fight on his hands, which he does not. Anthony Joshua called it a gimmick fight this week. You know, he, when asked about that fight, he's like, I'm focused on fighting the best guys in the world. You know, I'm not interested in the gimmick fight right now. And that's one of the big problems with boxing right now, is it's all about these gimmicky type fights. And that's just not what I do here. It's not what I do.
What happened when a pro wrestler named CM Punk came over to the UFC? Did they put on those fights back then? What do you guys think? Is the BMF title, I mean, the week that they put together a BMF title that means nothing. A title fight to headline a pay-per-view because they need to have a title fight and there are no available champions, and they forced their other champion, unbeknownst to him, to fight in August in Boston. They resurrected a title that he had said would never be defended again. They don't put on those gimmick fights. You promote slap fighting. You promote slap fighting. You drag two truck drivers, one from Idaho, the other from Utah. You wipe their face. There's ketchup and mustard all over their beard, and you say, please put one hand behind your back. Here's some chalk, and good luck slapping the shit out of each other. You promote that, and you're above Francis Ngannou versus Anthony Joshua?
And that's not even including the fact, by the way, R.I.P. Dana White on that one.
Put him in a coffin.
He put him in an absolute coffin. And look, I have a love-hate relationship with Dana White because I think he's an incredible promoter.
Yeah.
I think he's very, very good. He's the reason why the UFC has become what it is. But he has a massive discrepancy on his hand in how he pays and values fighters.
Put his foot in his mouth.
The whole reason why Ngannou took this fight with Fury is because of the fact of two things. Ngannou wasn't making the money he was supposed to as a prized fighter in the UFC, and he was fighting for insurance for the UFC fighters that Dana refuses to give them, even though this company is making billions upon billions upon billions of dollars. And guys, that Fury fight is the third largest prize fight of his career. Do you realize that? He's had 3 fights with Wilder, and this fight against Ngannou made more money than one of those. Think about that.
It's not a gimmick, man.
It's not a gimmick. And even if it is, it worked. And again, if you're going to criticize gimmicks, what the hell do you call what Ariel Helwani just put on the platform? He just called it all out. So Dana's sitting here taking pride in something that he himself doesn't even believe. It's so bad. Ngannou absolutely won, even though he didn't win technically. He won because he also left with about $40 million in his pocket. And he's probably, like Trevor said, going to get at least one more crack at this bad boy. And for the record, if Ngannou and Anthony Joshua fought right now, my money would be on Ngannou because I don't think Anthony Joshua's ever been hit close to as hard as he would be hit by Francis Ngannou. And you saw Tyson Fury get his ass dropped. So spare me. But Dana White, you and your bullshit that you got against Ariel Helwani and these gimmick fights that you yourself welcome on your own stage, do me a solid, my friend, and hold this L.
I will say, though, in defense a little bit to Dana White in the...
No, sure, no, I was kidding.
The CM Punk thing. CM Punk he is an MMA fighter.
Right, but you could say
before he was in the WWE.
Ngannou is more of a striking...
Just like Brock Lesnar was a wrestler.
Yeah, but you could say like Ngannou comes from using his hands.
I think they're both okay. I would honestly say neither one of those are gimmicks.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, they're both... all these guys had backgrounds in the things that they were participating in. But, I mean, if anything's more of a gimmick, it was bringing someone from the WWE. Not only one, but 2 guys from the WWE and Brock Lesnar and... CM Punk. So that seems more of a gimmick to me. That's show business.
At the end of the day, this is exactly. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Trevor, do you remember back when we were kids and it was the Attitude Era and Mike Tyson would show up and
Rodman.
He punched Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, man.
Shaq was in the
Trump was fucking out there, bro.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jake Paul.
But what I'm saying that's scripted.
Pat McAfee.
That is scripted entertainment you're bringing into the UFC. Ngannou is not a scripted fighter.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's less of a gimmick, if anything, than bringing guys like, granted, they had the MMA background and wrestling background in Lesnar and CM Punk. Those guys were true, actual guys that were in the MMA world. But CM Punk was an absolute joke. He got his ass destroyed numerous times. He brought him in for ticket sales.
They brought a YouTuber in, Kimbo Slice, Trevor. He didn't even mention that.
Well,
he didn't have an MMA background.
I wouldn't say he was a YouTuber. He just happened to be recorded when he was destroying people in the streets.
Right. What I'm saying though is he didn't have an MMA background.
Yeah.
He was a very popular YouTube guy who was knocking fools out on the side of the road.
Sure.
And we love Kimbo. We grew up on that generation.
Yeah. R.I.P.
But my point is like you can't sit here and shit on gimmicks when you yourself use gimmicks. Yeah. And I'm not opposed to gimmicks.
Yeah, it brings money. I get it, man.
Even like you said, it's entertainment. Football. Trevor, Andy Reid's offense is loaded with gimmicks. Andy Reid's offense has helped them win 2 Super Bowls. So gimmicks are welcome in my eyes, man. They're always welcome as long as they work. And it works.
It's a business in the end.
You know what else works? You and I's relationship here, Trevor and I's, our camaraderie that we have as a show. And we appreciate you guys every single week because you guys make it fun. We get to do this every single week. I look forward to it. As soon as we're done on Saturdays, I can't wait for the next week to talk with you guys. And so that's why we're constantly posting on Facebook. We're constantly posting on Twitter, or X rather, because we want to keep engaging with you guys. We want it to be a consistent relationship. We know for any relationship to work, there has to be consistency and there has to be communication. Well, I think we check both boxes here. I think it's safe to say. So we were really privileged, really honored to be with you guys today. Do not forget, though, guys, that tomorrow morning, early, bright, when you hear the roosters crowing, you'll hear me waking up and screaming in this microphone because myself, along with Shaggy Shane Williams, Noah Groniger, and Rich Baldinger, will be on the pregame show on Starcade Media's platforms. Go ahead and make sure and get on their YouTube channel, Starcade Media. You will see us go live. I think the show will be about 20, 30 minutes long. before kickoff. You'll have the game, obviously, and then after that, Trevor, myself, and Von Booker will be doing Chatting Up the Chiefs post-game show immediately after the Chiefs game. So strap in. It's going to be a busy-ass Sunday, but it's going to be a fun-ass Sunday because Trevor and I are both expecting dubs from the Chiefs this week before they go into their bye week. And I hope you guys are as well, man, because despite the fact that we started off the show with an hour-long rant fest of talking about the problems they have, we know what this team now is. Let's see if they're good enough to go and get themselves another Super Bowl championship. But before we get to all that, we have to stay right here, and we want to say thanks again for you guys being a part of this. So for Trevor Twidwell, for the great Clay Windler that puts all this together on the back end, I am Lance Twidwell. The Spoken Podcast episode 241 is done, finished, and finito. And until we're back here 1 week's time to talk about the Chiefs bye week and where they're at and where they're going to be looking towards and how they're going to be, what the rest of the NFL is looking like while they take this rest. I'm Lance Twidwell. You guys have a great week. We out of this bitch.
Later.